Get the same email from Alan Estrin that I receive every night about the most important issues to read about. Pragertopia Unlimited members can also listen to every program, lecture, and course that is in the Prager store. Thousands of hours. You can even listen to all my Torah teachings for free. It's a community that shares my passion for free speech, critical thinking, and respectful dialogue. It's all things Prager. Join Pragertopia Unlimited today. Go to Pragertopia.com or click the banner at DennisPrager.com.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
For over 23 years, Applied Mechanical Sales has offered boilers, water heaters, and exhaust venting to commercial mechanical contractors. They aid in the selection of standard and high-efficiency hydronic system equipment for replacement or new construction. From schools to churches to high-rises and hotels, Applied Mechanical provides high-quality, cost-effective Camus boilers and water heaters in many of Chicago's most iconic buildings. Mechanical design firms trust Applied Mechanical to support them by specifying the size and type of boilers to best match a building's load profile for the worst of Chicago weather conditions. Engineers and contractors can be confident that they'll experience trouble-free operation for the next 15 to 20 years. Applied Mechanical Sales ensures their boilers are properly installed and operate at peak efficiency long after the initial startup. Go to AppliedMechanicalSales.com to schedule a site visit and boiler replacement assessment. That's AppliedMechanicalSales.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, excuse me, Dan and Amy. So, that Delta flight that flipped over on the runway in Toronto and injured some 30 people, thankfully. I think everyone who was injured has been released from the hospital now.
Yep, they have been, all 18.
So, the initial response, as we played earlier in the week from people like Dana Bash, was to insinuate that the layoff of 300 non-critical personnel as it pertains to airline safety from the FAA may have been the proximate cause. Now, even though this, of course, occurred in Toronto, but regardless, the facts don't matter. The smear is what matters. The idea that these cuts are necessarily imperiling flight safety, airline safety. So Ed Bastian, the CEO of Delta Airlines, appeared on that show that Oprah's BFF hosts, Gayle King. And she tried to do the same thing. I mean, even despite what has come out, the questions surrounding the flight crew, for example, which we'll get to, despite that, they're still pressing the issue. And it was very interesting to see Delta CEO Ed Bastian sort of embarrassingly shut Gayle King down.
The Trump administration recently fired many employees of the FAA administration. Do those cuts worry you, and do you think that impacts the safety? I know you just said it's the safest way to travel, but after looking at all these mishaps, a lot of people are very nervous. Do these cuts affect you?
The cuts do not affect us, Gail. I've been in close communication with the Secretary of Transportation. I understand that the cuts at this time are something that are raising questions, but the reality is there's over 50,000 people that work at the FAA, and the cuts, I understand, were 300 people, and they were in non-critical safety functions. The Trump administration has committed to investing deeply in terms of improving the overall technologies that are used in the air traffic control systems and modernizing the skies. They've committed to hiring additional controllers and investigators and safety investigators. So, no, I'm not concerned with that at all.
Ed,
yeah, okay. Well, then, 300 out of 50,000 and planes are falling from the skies. Yeah, not exactly. And, this is something that Sean Duffy, the Transportation Secretary, said earlier in the week, but it's nice to have it reiterated by a airline CEO. And, I also note Delta, and this was actually a relatively fair-minded gesture for a big corporation like Delta. The $30,000 they offered all the passengers on that flight.
Yeah, would you take that?
Well, the point was it wasn't $30,000 to try to stave off trial lawyers, because there was no waiver of rights associated with the $30,000. So it was $30,000 just as like a show of, we're sorry that this happened to you, and we understand that you may pursue litigation, because I'm sure there were trial lawyers on the tarmac in Toronto passing out their business cards. We understand you may pursue litigation against us, but this $30,000 is free and clear whether you sue us or not.
Oh, we did not. That's great. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on that same line. Sean Duffy also said that air traffic controllers, like their actual towers at airports, are old and antiquated. They're World War II era, and they need to be revamped, so to speak. And we had on an air traffic controller yesterday, Rob Mark, former air traffic controller, and he said, yeah, I mean, what he said is true. The system's old and everything needs to be updated. And
despite the fact that it's always good to stay current with technological advancements, what you still have is an incredibly safe airline system. You have, the skies are incredibly safe. Bastian was right in what he said previously, which you didn't hear, but reiterating that airline travel is the safest form of travel. There's no question about it, and it's thanks to great pilots and great air traffic controllers and so forth. But so yes to upgrading, that always makes sense where upgrades are available, and it will enhance safety that by that increment, if that's what it is believed it will do. But I think what you're going to find in both the DCA crash that we discussed, as well as with that the crash in Toronto where the Delta flight flipped flipped over, you're going to find pilot error. And, and then there's a question about what additional technological advancements can be brought to the cockpit to minimize pilot error. So, I mean, it's always going to be 99-point-something%, which is what it is. And to the extent that we can continue to improve, great. But the demagoguing and the cheap insinuations by the D.C. press corps, the Dana Bashes and the Gayle Kings, is wildly ignorant, completely unhelpful. It's what they do. It's to try and induce fear and hysteria, because fear and hysteria is what drives, the government's got to do something about the government. Make the government bigger to protect us against the government. And it just becomes this cycle, and this is how you get the Leviathan that we have.
It's typical mainstream media trying to pin everything on Trump. There's been 4 crashes since he's been in office. Well, a lot of them, as you said, were pilot error, had nothing to do with reduction at the FAA and with non-critical jobs. So it's this all they have. Well, they have nothing. They don't even have a defined leader for 2028 right now.
Well, regarding this issue, they might be careful about what they choose to spotlight and what they choose to demagogue, because it could boomerang on them. And this Delta flight, if it's Endeavor Air was the operator, which is a regional carrier that Delta uses, and Endeavor Air has, the propaganda is all over the internet in terms of unmanned, meaning no men, all female flight crews. and their focus on DEI and so on and so forth. And they have not disclosed who was part of that flight crew on that flight in Toronto. But the rumors going around, including in the pilot community, because I talked to one yesterday, that it was an all-female flight crew, and perhaps the captain on that flight was 24 years old.
Oh my gosh! Well,
and I don't know that to be true. This is speculation. This is what is being discussed. But the Endeavor air propaganda certainly, and the resistance that Delta is offering to disclosing the flight crew, it starts to get a little interesting. Calls into question DEI policies. That's something that I don't think Gayle King or Dana Bash want to discuss. So you best be careful when you start trying to backdoor Trump and the Trump administration on this, when in point of fact, there may have been another dynamic at play that resulted in the pilot error, that resulted in that plane flipping on landing.
Here's something that's going viral on TikTok. It's a video that they made with all women, no men. This is all the chick airline.
Girls,
here.
come on. Leave the saving the world to the men? I don't think so. I don't think so.
It's about bad girls doing it wrong.
Yeah,
female pilots. She's like, we're not going to leave this part to the men.
It turns out that Endeavor Airlines, the percentage of female pilots is like a little over 6%, which is slightly above the industry average. So it's not like it's, all fembots at Endeavor Airlines, but I mean, just the emphasis on it. I mean, so it's less about okay, you want to recruit female pilots, fine, whatever. But it's as we say, MEI, merit, excellence, intelligence, not DEI, and we're going to want to know. We're going to want to know about those pilots and what happened on that flight, because there clearly were crosswinds and that plane, and I'm sure everybody's seen by now, sort of crabbing in and just came down so hard on the landing gear that I think it just collapsed the landing gear. So instead of 3 wheels, you had 2, and then it spun and flipped. So we'll see we'll see. I'm not an aviation safety expert, but you can sort of follow the whiff of what is cooking here. And the misdirection play that is being efforted by the Gayle Kings and the Dana Bashes, as per usual. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
You never want to miss one of life's most important moments. A graduation, a birthday, a first communion, a wedding. When these moments happen, you want to make sure to capture them so that you and your loved ones can remember them for years to come. For over 30 years, families have relied on Tom Kaloran Photography to capture important life moments. This locally owned family business can provide the solutions you need for your important event photography, from weddings and birthdays to class reunions and golf outings. No matter the size or scope, Tom Kaloran Photography will make sure you have lasting memories to share for years to come. Tom Kaloran Photography is also the official photographer for AM 560 The Answer. To learn more and to see their portfolio, just visit KaloranPhotography.com. That's KILLORAN photography.com, or call them at 708-361-0025. Tom Kaloran Photography, capturing important life moments for over 30 years.
Attention. If you or your business is behind in filing your tax returns, or if you owe over $20,000 in back taxes to the IRS, please listen carefully. Going back and forth with the IRS can be stressful and confusing. The IRS doesn't joke around and will not stop their collection efforts. Don't let other companies charge you to pull transcripts. BC Tax will discreetly obtain your IRS transcripts free of charge. So, if you're tired of the IRS letters and would like to get a fresh start, BC Tax can help. Our team of tax professionals are making it easier than ever to settle tax problems for those who owe more than $20,000. We've helped thousands just like you. Call 800-214-3995 today to stop your tax problem from getting worse. Call 800-214-3995. That's 800-214-3995. 800-214-3995. Again, 800-214-3995.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Get your reaction to the proposed Doge dividend, that is, Doge dividend, $5,000 perhaps, percentage of the money that Elon and the Doge boys are saving taxpayers, 538.
I think that sounds great, but now let's head into the newsroom. And let's say good morning to Nikki Whaley, who's in for Mike Scott.
Good morning. It's 11 degrees in Chicago. In the AM 560 The Answer newsroom, I'm Nikki Whaley. Senator Mitch McConnell will not seek re-election next year. The Republican lawmaker made the announcement in a speech on the Senate floor on his 83rd birthday, Thursday. McConnell was first elected to the Senate in 1984. He said every day since then he's been humbled by the trust voters placed in him to do their business in Washington, D.C. McConnell broke the record for the longest-serving Senate party leader before stepping down in November. 3 civil rights organizations are suing the Trump administration over President Trump's executive orders banning support for DEI and accessibility programs. The National Urban League, the National Fair Housing Alliance, and the AIDS Foundation Chicago filed the suit on Wednesday, arguing that the banning of federal references to transgender people or support for DEI programming, funds for non-governmental organizations is at risk. The suit claims that the orders will severely limit these organizations' ability to support critical society and health services, along with help for people of color, women, members of the LGBT community, and people with disabilities. News is a service of the AM 560 store. Order t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Prof University and The Sean Thompson Show, when you go to 560theanswer.com/store. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Charlie Kirk explains what the president has done.
We are going to find a settlement to this war, whether Zelensky wants it or not. He does not have a say in this matter anymore. Ukraine operates solely thanks to the subsidy of the American government. President Trump is the peace president. What he is doing is going to make the world a better, more stable place.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Hugh Hewitt at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
When your home or business has an insurance claim, the next step is very important. The claim process with insurance can be tedious, hard to understand, and difficult to navigate. You need someone working for you. You need a licensed claim adjuster. Why? The insurance company will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them, not you.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company. If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at CrosscomInc.com. That's CrosscomInc.com. Crosscom, building trust for over 20 years.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash, and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
That's awful, hon.
My brother was saying he got life insurance from Ethos. With Ethos, it only took 10 minutes, and he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Samsung TV Plus, channel 1177.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Jill Urchak taking a look at the roads on the inbound Stevenson at Cass Avenue. There is an accident on the shoulder. Semi in the ditch. Crews are on the right shoulder. It's moving along, though. Outbound side also looks good. On the Eden, 16 minutes, Lake Cook Road to Montrose. The inbound side of the Kennedy, that is moving quickly as well. No reported troubles. Eisenhower, you're okay getting from 390 into the post office. Inbound Ryan stands at 12 minutes, 95th on in. The Skyway is open and I-57 looks good. Bishop Fort cleared up from an earlier accident, and DuSable Lakeshore Drive is fine both north and south. On the Tri-State, no complaints. The Jane Addams, the Reagan, and 355 all good, and no delays to report along 8094. Traffic is a service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special members-only content. So join today at 560theanswer.com/join. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But now, check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Cold day today, sunshine, high 27. Clear, bitter cold night tonight with a low at 12. Partly to mostly sunny, breezy, chilly day tomorrow, the high 32. Partly sunny for Sunday, not as cold, the high at 39. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Trump proposing a Doge dividend check for American taxpayers. He riffed on this the other day.
And saving taxpayers billions and billions of dollars every single day. And there's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the Doge savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt, because the numbers are incredible, Elon. So many billions of dollars, billions, hundreds of billions.
What do you think? A Doge dividend check in the neighborhood of $5,000. I'll give you the formula in a second. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line, a Doge dividend check.
Well, our girl Jasmine Crockett, she doesn't think that's enough money. Well, that's not going to buy anything, Dan.
And of a dividend. Would you support that?
Listen, he's just telling a lie. He's not the one that had anything to do with the $1,200 refunds that people had during the midst of COVID. That was done by a Democratic House and Democratic Senate. Right now, what they're going to do is say, hey, we want to give you a refund, but Congress won't let us, because they already know that there's just no money for that. The only reason that those refunds came before was because we were living in different times. This was a time in which hopefully we won't ever go through again. We had a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. The bad part is that I don't know if this once in a lifetime, because we know that Ebola, unfortunately, was detected right here in New York here recently. And if we continue down this road of getting rid of scientists or deciding that we don't want to rely on experts as it relates to what they're telling us to do, or we don't want to deal with vaccines and medicine in this country, then we may be facing not only our next pandemic, but our next 2, 3, or 4 pandemics because of their incompetence. So no, we are not in the business of giving out money. And honestly, I don't know what $5,000 will do for you.
That is definitely in the running for the "we are all dumber for having heard that" clip of the week, statement of the week. Jasmine Crockett asks about a Doge dividend check and winds up about the forthcoming Ebola pandemic, according to her. It's just wild. Is eyelashes. Spice of the socialist Spice Girl, fake eyelashes.
He's either butch body, bleach blonde, Dan.
Yeah,
I didn't like when she said she doesn't know what $5,000 will do for you. Are you kidding me? I could tell her how she could spend her $5,000. $5,000 is a lot of money.
First of all, just so we get the nomenclature right for those people scoring at home, I'm officially moving off bleach blonde, bad-built, butch, beach body Spice as Jasmine Crockett's stage name, her membership in the social Spice Girls. It's just too cumbersome. And fake eyelashes Spice was the actual bon mot that MTG sent Jasmine's way. So let's just do that. It's easier.
Okay, so she's
fake eyelashes Spice. Okay. Now, back to the $5,000 won't do anybody any good. Yeah.
$5,000. Are you kidding me? That could pay for a semester of college for a child. If they've got some student loans, you could pay that up. There's so much money that you could use. If I had $5,000 right now, I'd put it forward to fall semester for Georgia Tech. I'm just saying or you could donate the money.
I thought Peyton's on scholarship.
Well, partial.
Does he still has to pay? He has to pay something.
Can you believe that he gets straight A's, and we tried to get him more merit, and he still did not get a full ride to Georgia Tech.
So what's full price there for
full price is like
70, 65?
80,000.
Oh, including room and board.
Yeah.
What's tuition? Tuition 65, 70?
Yeah, 65.
So what's he paying?
I really don't.
Well, he's got a partial scholarship. There's nothing wrong with that. That's good.
He's paying $35,000 a year.
Okay, well that's
so big. Mama here's got to come up with some money, and I've been doing some crazy jobs, but it's okay. I'm doing what I'm doing to survive and to provide for my children.
Enough about your OnlyFans page, please.
Hey, OnlyFans conservative style is what it's called.
Is that right? So you take that $5,000 and then you go to the blackjack table at Rivers, and I hope you turn it into 35.
That's how you would do it, right?
Probably. Well, $5,000 is real money. The question is that the best way, or should this Doge dividend just be strictly used to pay down debt, essentially? I mean, it's. I'm of two mind on it. I mean, it's not going to make a material structural difference to the government. It's good. It's a good start. It's the first step of a journey of 1,000 miles. But so I understand you say, just use the savings to rein in the government and perpetuate the savings going forward, making a down payment on the backlog of unpaid bills, effectively. But the other thing is, this is a way potentially to illustrate in a concrete manner to the American people. We reduce the size of government. You get more of what you earn. You and you're responsible for more of the provisions of your daily life. That's how it should be in a free society. The government is trying to do too much. It doesn't do it well. It doesn't do it as effectively, certainly cost effectively, as you would do if we just gave you back more of your money to chart your own course. So to the extent that those checks could sort of drive that conversation, I think it could be very helpful.
312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on that very same line.
It doesn't make sense, economically per se, in a macro way, but it makes sense in terms of trying to change the mentality of so much of a percentage of the American people about how they think about government and the individual's relationship to their government. By the way, this is still pie in the sky at this point, because the proposal is based on the Doge boys essentially reaching their goal of eliminating $2 trillion in government spend. And the 5,000 is based on 20% of $2 trillion in spend being reduced, and that distributed over all American taxpayers. And by the way, it's also the idea is to issue these checks in after July of 2026, which is right now the announced end date of Doge. Doge is on, basically a 2-year clock.
Okay.
And, by the way, that timing is not coincidental. The idea of a Doge dividend check in July of 26, the summer before the midterm elections.
It happens, Dan.
That's
coincidence.
very coincidental and serendipitous would be. Jerry and Gurney, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Jerry.
Hi, Dan. Hi, Amy. Thank you for taking my call. All of these Trump haters, all the ones that celebrated he's not my president not too long ago on President's Day, are they going to take this money with open arms?
I assume that's a rhetorical question. Sheryl Crow may donate it to NPR, but that's her business. You do with it what you want. Dean in Sarasota, Florida, that is.
Hey, Dan and Amy, good morning. Yeah, Dan, you kind of did the math for me. $5,000 per 100 million taxpayers is $500 billion. They've got $55 billion in the bank right now. So we got a long way to go.
Indeed. Yes.
Got a lot of text messages.
Question. Thanks for the call, Dean.
Yeah, thanks, Dean. Dan and Amy, why not use some of Doge dividends to rebuild the Social Security Trust Fund? Largely symbolic, but great politics.
Yes. Well, first of all, the Social Security Trust Fund is a fallacy. That doesn't actually exist.
Okay.
Social Security is, basically, it's not exactly a Ponzi scheme, but it's pretty close. You're paying out as you're taking in. The money I've paid into Social Security isn't set aside in the Dan Proft Social Security Payment Fund, right? It's being spent probably multiple times over. The Social Security Trust Fund is a fiction. This is not this is why the real conversation about Social Security should be about moving it to at least providing Americans with choice so that they can get better than a 1% real return on all of the money they pay in over their working career to Social Security. I'd rather throw it in a Roth IRA myself, but hey, that's me.
How you roll, man.
Well, but
it's
this
smart.
should be,
you'd make money.
The whole Doge thing is about having these conversations, rather than being just stuck in doing things the way we've done them, because this is the way we've done them for a long period of time. Mike in Union.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. Yeah, I'll take the $5,000, and when they send it out, they can call it a real USAID. And then when you refer to the debt, I would just take a phrase from my favorite president. Let's make the Mexican government pay for the debt.
There you go.
Right, the cartels, all these designated foreign terrorist organizations. We're gonna seize all their assets and use it to pay down debt. That would come close, maybe.
That's good. Or
I
make
don't
Canada
think they're
do it.
$36 trillion, but yeah, right. Okay. Mike, Countryside.
Hey, morning, guys. She's a congressman or something, right?
Jasmine Crockett, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Texas.
All right. So how much it makes me wonder when somebody thinks that $5,000 isn't a lot of money.
Bingo.
How much money is this woman bringing in bribes and scandals as an elitist public servant to think that $5,000 isn't a significant amount of money?
Well, yeah, she makes. Thanks, Mike. She makes $175,000 as a congresswoman. She was an attorney previously. She presents herself as a very successful attorney, a very skilled attorney. I can't imagine she's skilled, but she could have made money being an ambulance chaser. Her net worth, according to financial disclosures, is between $2 and $9 million.
What?
Yeah. And she's only in her
the big eyelashes.
I think she's in her late 30s or something too. So I don't know where that money comes from. I don't know if it was money made in private practice or what, but maybe that's why the $5,000 isn't such a big deal to her. But if it was her giving the check, it was the Democrats giving checks for whatever, then it's a big deal. It's not even about the money. It's just trying to minimize anything that Trump does just to be in opposition to it. And then talking about COVID checks, and everybody took credit and patted themselves on the back for $1,200 bucks.
Right.
But for some reason, $5,000 is de minimis. I don't get it. Well,
I forgot about Ebola, huh? We've been taking our eye off of it.
Ebola, yeah,
Ebola,
right.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
you say Ebola, I say Ebola.
And other unnamed viruses that apparently Jasmine Crockett has the drop on.
I mean, come on.
It's just ridiculous. Bill, Northwest Side.
I think politically it's genius. I mean, imagine every American family receiving a $5,000 check in the mail. I mean, it sends all kinds of positive messages, and I think it would be great.
Yeah.
Well, got a text message here. Dan and Amy, it smacks of buying votes, similar to student debt forgiveness by Biden.
Well, student debt forgiveness was unconstitutional. This returning taxpayer dollars to taxpayers is not unconstitutional. So that's a big difference. The whole buying votes, I mean, politicians spending $6 trillion last year. I mean, isn't that all buying votes? I mean, isn't it really? I mean, isn't every government program or agency that has a constituency and the politicians who protect those programs and agencies, who grow those programs and agencies, aren't they buying votes? So, like I said, I think returning the money and connecting the dots between we reduce our profligate spending and you benefit by getting more money back to deal with your daily, budgetary needs. I think that's really good. And I mean, it sets up basically what Rand Paul was talking about when he was riffing on Doge and focusing on, we have to make choices here like adults, like the rest of America has to make. I don't want to have to choose between funding USAID and building a border wall. Well, you have to choose because resources are finite.
President Trump came to town, a new way of thinking. They're shuttering agencies. They're shutting people down. They're finding things like $2 million spent in Guatemala for sex changes, $3 million spent in Brazil for girl-centric climate change.
My favorite kind.
$4.8 million spent in Ukraine for social media influencers. While you're at it, but the people who vote for this, I've voted against all of this, but the members of the Senate who voted for this spent several $100,000 sending designers in Ukraine to the fashion show in Paris. It goes on and on. Thousands of dollars for a trans opera in Colombia. More thousands of dollars for a trans comic book in Peru.
Jeez.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars spent studying rats to see if lonely rats use more cocaine than well-socialized rats.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? Lonely rats love the cocaine. You spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of your money on this craziness. Why not take that crazy spending that Doge and Elon Musk are finding and move it over to securing the border? Instead, fiscal conservatives are faced with a bill they're putting forward to just simply increase the spending. I'm all for moving it around. I'm all for saving it from the craziness and pushing it over into something more valuable.
Yeah, pushing things over into something more valuable and maybe pushing 20% back to American taxpayers.
Okay,
Sean,
got a text message. Oh,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. What's the plan for the remaining 60%? Because he said 20% would go to pay off the debt, 20% would be given back to the taxpayers.
He didn't say, but I assume it's in the vein of what you just heard from Rand Paul, which is let's repurpose those funds for things that are actually important.
Okay.
That's what I suspect. Sean, Northwest Side.
Hey, good morning, guys. Just want to make 2 quick comments. I think now we know where the cocaine in the White House came from. Must have been a rat in the White House.
Yeah.
Secondly, I don't believe in handing out money because it's never distributed evenly and fairly. I've been taxed up the wazoo compared to other people that definitely don't get taxed like I do, and you only want to give me $5,000 and hand somebody else $5,000? That doesn't seem fair. It should go to Americans, but I just don't like the way they're going to hand it out. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Yeah, I mean, graduated out, graduated in. I mean, I sort of get it, but there's going to have to be sort of a equanimity there to, I think, work politically. I mean, that's certainly part of the calculation. It always is. Now, don't forget, one additional wrinkle is, and you heard Howard Lutnick talking about it this week too. I think he was on Jesse Waters. That Trump has one of his blue sky ideas is eliminate the IRS and erect the ERS, the External Revenue Service. He wants to get rid of the tax system altogether. Now, I think we'll be happy short term with an extension of the Trump tax cuts, though that is mission critical. But blue sky is, no IRS. We have an ERS, and we finance the government essentially with tariff funds alone, going back to pre-income tax in the 19th century, which, it's a pretty attractive proposition. I don't know the viability of it in the short term, but again, putting markers down that are way ahead of us to drive conversation that moves us in that direction. That's good politics and good policymaking. You got to bring people along, and that means you got to get them engaged in thinking about this and discussing it and kicking the tires and arguing and coming to some consensus. And maybe you don't get to, all the way to that destination, but boy, halfway there, 3/4 of the way there, big difference. Monica and Lyle.
Yeah, a quick question. 2 quick questions. One, would all that money going back into the economy cause more inflation? Because that's what I'm concerned about after what Biden pulled with the Inflation Reduction Act. And 2, that song, Whose Side Are You On? I'd love to see that rapper who did Who's Eating the Dogs and Who's Eating the Cats, the Eating Cats and Dogs song. Love to see him come up with a same rap version, or somebody take that song and make it into a parody. I would really enjoy
Turn
that.
It techno, yeah.
Yeah, we should. That's a good one, Monica. We should send that to Kifnis and ask if he'll do that for us, for the nation, really. It's patriotic duty.
For the world.
Inflation, it's not new dollars. It's a dollar moved from here to there. So I don't think it would have any inflationary impact beyond all this money sloshing around, beyond what all this money sloshing around has had already. Mike in Littleton, Colorado.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for taking my call. To me, this is like a greater issue. First of all, you're right. The government probably from day one was a grift operation to buy votes. So we've been putting up with that forever. But my greater issue is this. It's not about what they do with this money and the $5,000. I want to know why it is I'm forced through a payroll deduction to put my money in a bank that is demonstrably robbed daily. And they can prove it now, right? I mean, right? None of us would put our money in the bank like this. Mm-hmm. That's, to me, the greater issue. Why are we paying taxes at all if this is how they're behaving? That's the issue I would forward.
Thanks for the call, Mike. All right, coming up at 6:06, the fallout from Pritzker calling Trump and Trump supporters Nazis during his State of the State address. That's 6:06.
And we have the names of those pilots from the Endeavour air flight. One is a male. He's the captain. He's been flying since 2007, was also an active duty captain and in pilot training and flight safety capacities. And the first officer was a female who recently graduated from a university with an accelerated and well-respected aviation program, whatever that means.
All right, I'm blaming the chick.
Okay, that's all right. That's fine. Today we're going to have mostly sunny skies, a high of 27. Tomorrow, Saturday, a high of 32 degrees. And on Sunday, a high near 40. It is now 6 a.m. WIND Chicago.
They called it an all-night vote-a-rama. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and it ended a few hours ago at the Senate.
The concurrent resolution, as amended, is considered agreed to.
And with all Republicans, except Rand Paul, voting to approve a $340 billion budget blueprint using a process Democrats can filibuster and block, it boosts funding for border security, the military, and energy production.
Here's the rub. The House has to approve the same plan. A, we don't know whether or not the House of Representatives can approve anything, let alone sync up with the Senate. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, said that this was a non-starter. So, they might be dead in the water unless A, they can get on the same page, and B, both bodies be able to adopt the same thing.
That's Fox's Chad Pergram at the Capitol. The day after Senate Republicans voted to confirm Kash Patel as new FBI director with no Democrat support, Patel will be sworn in. There is anger in Israel, where Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is vowing revenge, accusing Hamas of violating the ceasefire deal. One of the 4 dead hostages released in Gaza yesterday didn't turn out to be Shiri Bibas, as had been expected, the mother of 2 young boys whose remains were handed over.
In an indescribably cynical way, they did not return Shiri to the side of her little children, the little angels, and they put the body of a Gazan woman in the coffin.
Hamas is set to release 6 more hostages who are alive tomorrow. This is a big deal north of the border.
Entering past McDavid scores! Connor McDavid wins it for Canada!
He scored in overtime on ESPN, giving Canada a 3-2 victory over Team USA in Boston to win the NHL's Four Nations Face-Off tournament. And just before that game, President Trump, who's been threatening Canada with big tariffs on imports to the U.S., repeated what he wants for Canada.
I think they have to become the 51st state.
Well, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, after Canada beat the American team last night, posted on X, "You can't take our country, and you can't take our game." America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 11 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump says Elon Musk is helping to save our country.
It was important for people to understand he's doing a big job. He's doing a very thankless job. It's really a thankless job. But he's helping us to save our country. Our country is in serious trouble.
Joined by Musk in an interview with Sean Hannity, the president said he needed to get someone with a lot of credibility to go after wasteful spending in the federal government. The president added Doge will be the biggest thing Musk has ever done, and as the head of Tesla and SpaceX, he stands to lose a lot if the country goes bad. Musk added a dire warning saying if America falls, the whole roof comes crashing down and there's no escape. The Civilian Office of Police Accountability is investigating a police-involved shooting on the West Side. The incident happened in the 200 block of South Cicero Avenue. Authorities say state troopers spotted a vehicle they suspected was involved in a robbery on the Dan Ryan Expressway. They pursued the vehicle from 63rd to Cicero to Monroe. The suspects left the vehicle and there was an exchange of gunfire with the police. There is no word if anyone was wounded. 3 people are in custody. Illinois State Police are looking into a deadly incident on the Eisenhower Expressway when a person was struck and killed following a crash in West Suburban Broadview. A multi-vehicle collision happened near 25th Avenue. Troopers say an individual left a vehicle and was fatally struck. All lanes of traffic were closed several hours before reopening. News is a service of Valdecast Windows. For the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality and professional-level window replacement service, contact Valdecast Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Visit Valdecast.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
If you listen to the mainstream media and the Democrats, you'd think it was a sin to be black and conservative. Well, John Anthony blows up that perception every week on Black and Right. Join John tomorrow afternoon at 4 when he pushes back against the left and its regressive, progressive agenda that tries to dictate how people should think or feel about politics. Listen to Black and Right tomorrow afternoon at 4, right here on AM 560, The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
It's your life, your legacy. Shouldn't it be your choice? For nearly 2 centuries, Catholic Cemetery Chicago has been a haven for families, offering sacred spaces to honor these legacies. Take an active role by pre-planning your final arrangements. Alleviate your loved ones a future financial burden. Lock in today's prices and take advantage of no interest payments and no hidden fees. Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
Enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock, all day, every day, including daily replays of Chicago's Morning Answer on Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now at danandamy247.com.
This Valentine's season, the Ministry of Preborn invites you to become a heartbeat hero and share the love that goes beyond a box of chocolates, a love that saves lives. Every day, thousands of women are told the lie that abortion is their only option. They can't do it, that there is no hope. But that mother in crisis, when she sees her baby on an ultrasound at a preborn network clinic, it doubles her chances at choosing life. This isn't just an image on a screen. It's about a mom hearing the baby's heartbeat, maybe for the first time, and realizing that's a gift growing inside of her. One preborn supporter said, "Knowing my gift could save a life was the most meaningful act of love I could give." For $28, you can provide an ultrasound and help a mom in crisis choose life. $140 provides 5 ultrasounds. So this Valentine's season, take a stand, be bold, become a heartbeat hero. Dial pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby, or visit preborn.com/hope. That's preborn.com/hope.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a 5th-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Jill Urchek, taking a look at the roads, beginning with the outbound Dan Ryan. There is an accident on the exit ramp to 18th Street. We have IDOT on the scene. On the inbound Edens, no troubles, moving quickly, 15 minutes, Lake Cook Road to Montrose. Kennedy inbound, also a smooth ride. On the Eisenhower, just under a half hour, 390 into the post office. Stevenson Inn also looks good. On the inbound Ryan, you're in good shape. Skyway's open and I-57 is clear. Bishop 4, that's a smooth trip in both directions. DuSable Lakeshore Drive moving very nicely either way. On the Tri-State, no troubles. The Reagan is fine. 355 and the Jane Addams, all those are clear as well. Traffic is a service of the Chicago Wolves. Join the Chicago Wolves for Faith and Fellowship Saturday night at 7 against the Iowa Wild. Stay for the postgame as Wolves forward Josiah Slavin shares stories about his faith. Tickets are available at Ticketmaster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Mostly sunny, chilly day. High today at 27. Clear, very cold tonight with a low at 12. Partly to mostly sunny, breezy tomorrow, the high 32. And then clouds and sun, not as cold on Sunday. High Sunday at 39. I'm Steve Williams, sunny. I'm 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. How did you enjoy Governor Jelly Belly's State of the State address on Wednesday? How'd you enjoy it? He's making national news, as any sitting governor who calls the president and his supporters Nazis might, especially in the context of a State of the State address.
Oh, he's trying to be elevated to a national stage because he's going to run for president in 2028.
I understand his motivations. What about the motivations of his constituents, the residents of Illinois? Is that how you want the state represented? Is that something you'll fold in with? He's speaking truth to power. Is that right? Is this speaking truth to power?
I just have one question. What comes next? After we've discriminated against, deported, or disparaged all the immigrants and the gay and lesbian and transgender people, the developmentally disabled, the women, and the minorities, once we've ostracized our neighbors and betrayed our friends, after that, when the problems we started with are still there staring us in the face, what comes next? All the atrocities of human history lurk in the answer to that question. And if we don't want to repeat history, then for God's sake, in this moment, we better be strong enough to learn from it.
God's sake.
And those are your state legislators. Anyone who is represented by a new Marxist, which is most of suburban Chicago and all of the city of Chicago. Those are your legislators applauding like the trained Marxist SEALs they are. Any comment on that?
312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line, or you could text us on that very same line.
It's really rich, too. I mean, he throws in all the marginalized communities. Right. Of course, everything he said is false, but it's particularly noxious when he uses the developmentally disabled as one of his identitarian shields, given that Illinois continues to be and has been pre-Pritzker and through Pritzker one of the worst states in the nation when it comes to the provision of services for the ID and DD residents of the state. And all those legislators applauding like the trained Marxist CEOs they are responsible as well. But you go ahead and slap yourself on the back while they clap for you slapping yourself on the back, all of you new Marxists in the leafy suburbs. And he continued.
If you think I'm overreacting and sounding the alarm too soon, consider this. It took the Nazis 1 month, 3 weeks, 2 days, 8 hours, and 40 minutes to dismantle a constitutional republic. And all I'm saying is that when the 5-alarm fire starts to burn, every good person better be ready to man a post with a bucket of water if you want to stop it from raging out of control.
All I'm saying is Trump and his supporters, this administration, are Nazis. That's all I'm saying. But he's saying he didn't say that.
Oh.
No, I didn't say
he's
that.
He's trying to walk that back?
I didn't say that.
How is it not an insult to have the American public voting for Trump when you're talking about Trump being a Nazi?
Those words never came out of my mouth. That is not true, what you just said. Here is what I will say. I think it was important to talk about the destruction of a constitutional republic.
You know how it's just so blatantly dishonest, and I don't know how any fair-minded person can listen to that. I mean, all these allegedly intelligent people. I'm talking specifically about Chicago's suburbs. These intelligent, allegedly professional people. And you listen to that, and you don't know when someone's saying, using a over-the-top characterization of political opponents as Nazis, and then is not honest enough to say, yeah, that's what he did. No, I didn't explicitly say, I didn't say verbatim that Trump is a Nazi. I just said this is what he said. Again.
If you think I'm overreacting and sounding the alarm too soon, consider this. It took the Nazis 1 month, 3 weeks, 2 days, 8 hours, and 40 minutes to dismantle a constitutional republic. And all I'm saying is that when the 5-alarm fire starts to burn, every good person better be ready to man a post with a bucket of water if you want to stop it from raging out of control.
Wait, he didn't say Trump there. He didn't say Trump. He was just offering a Nazi, a history lesson in Nazism. It has no relation to anything that he thinks is going on at the federal level at present. No, of course not. Where would anyone get that idea?
I mean, he's so repulsive. He'll say and do anything to be loved and to try and get elected, to try and elevate his career, so-called career.
So what should the response to that be? What should the response to Pritzker's sliming Trump and Trump supporters as Nazis, because that's what he did? What should it be?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. I mean, you can start by calling your state rep that was sitting there clapping. Like, why were you supporting that? Just one line. Why were you supporting that comment? Email him, he or she. See if they give you a response. Don't let it slide over the plate. But that's what a lot of Illinoisans do. Stick our head in the sand, hope things get better by hiding in the basement. Remember that lady who said, when there was a huge crime spree and the homicide rate was through the roof about 2 summers ago, she's like, I just go in my basement and hope that this all goes away. She literally said that on local TV.
Right. As I've said before, the state bird should be changed from the cardinal to the ostrich.
Right.
Philip in Melrose Park.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. And you know, Amy, you can't get a hold of these people. I've tried. I have a dissected artery, and I cannot get any help from the state of Illinois to help with rent for 6 months. So now I'm going back to work, dizzy and all screwed up and everything else, and all kinds of pills. But we listen to these people, and people think they're normal. We don't think that they're billionaires. We don't think that their whole family is billionaires. We don't think that every single time they make a Nazi comment, it's because they're rich communists. All the communists in the world are the richest people in the world. Their people are not, but they're the biggest capitalists in the world. They capitalize on murder, thievery, extortion for centuries now. And if you look at their lineage, they were part of it. And now they're running our state.
Well,
and every single judge is corrupt that I've dealt with my whole life in Illinois, in Cook County. And I can't get this state to answer any questions in 35 years. 35 years. I've tried to get Springfield to do something. 35 years. But we've had Chicago politics on a federal level under Obama and Biden. And what is it enough money for them? I mean, billions and billions and trillions. When's it enough money and they're still complaining?
Thanks for the call, Philip. Yeah. Sarah in Glenview.
Yeah, hi. Jelly Belly is a big hypocrite. I'm old enough to remember when our good downstate Republican Darren Bailey, a pro-lifer, likened the abortion industry to the Holocaust. Boy, did he catch holy hell.
Well, yeah. I mean, those comparisons are unfortunate as well. I mean, it's not helpful. These things are separate and distinct, and they should be spoken about them in separate and distinct ways. When you make those sorts of comparisons, all you do is sort of inflame. You don't inform. You don't persuade anybody. These things should be taken on their own merits. Abortion, genocide, the murderous dictatorial regimes. And, I mean, the comparison, many people, including on the left, at least they used to be upset when you make, when everybody who disagrees with you is Hitler, because what does it do? It cheapens how dastardly Hitler was and how, sort of preternaturally inhumane, one of the darkest periods in Western history, the Holocaust was. So why you don't make cheap comparisons to score cheap political points, but J.B. Pritzker does. And it used to be that decent people would say you're out of bounds.
Right.
It used to be that way.
But now?
I don't know.
I mean, one text message, the response should be point and laugh hysterically at him.
Yeah, I don't think this is a time for just sort of laughing it off, actually. I think, if you're going to stand for decency, then that should be confronted. What he had to say, and it was over and over again, atrocities, Nazis, standing up to tyranny, in addition to all the things he said that were just false about defunding this and defunding that. I think it needs to be addressed straight away. So that's what I'm interested to hear, how people would address it straight away rather than just walking away from it. You walk away, you roll your eyes. People don't think what he said is that important. Oh, it's just politicians talking. No, actually it isn't. Because there are responsible politicians who don't make those over-the-top comparisons to score cheap political points with a very small, rabid, ignorant, totalitarian base, which is the base of Jelly Belly's party. John, Northside. Hey, John. John on the north side. Going once, going twice. Ron on the south side.
Hey, Dan and Amy. No, he's worse than a hypocrite. He is a lying, disgusting, despicable piece of crap. And Amy, you were right. He's trying to raise his profile. Why didn't he run this time? So we could have whooped his fat butt, because he is the epitome of the disgusting Democrat Party. So why didn't that coward run in? But he is sickening, just disgusting. You all have a great weekend.
Yeah, I mean, he is. He's a character. I mean, I would say like Pappy O'Daniel for Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Played brilliantly by Charles Durning, but he was sort of too much of like an old sort of happy-go-lucky Dixiecrat. Pritzker is, this idea he comes across as exactly, mm-hmm. as like a reasonable nasty person. He talks and he musters up the energy to offer, this genuine moral indignation over this and that. The thing is phony. He is a big, empty shell. He is a nasty person. You're right nasty about that. He is mean.
I saw some mean side of him covering those press conferences. I'm like, oh boy, people don't know about this. He acts like he's the big, fat, jolly man, happy, buys his staff $800 worth of fudge. And then, you see him behind the scenes. He's not so nice.
No, he is not affable. He is a craven big shell of a man. And what you said, I mean, there is no low to which he will not stoop to advance himself politically, because it is his political ambition that he has decided will be his epitaph. That's how he is going to be somebody. He wants to wear the sashes. That's really what he cares about, wearing the sashes, because if he doesn't have that, then he is just another silver spoon fat kid who was born on third base and thinks he hit a triple like so many before him, and that's what he will go down in history as, the scion of the Pritzker billionaires. That's it, unless he has public offices. And then he's part of the permanent record. And so this is what you see when you have a man without chest that pursues public office at any cost.
And remember, he doesn't play by the rules. He took toilets out of his home to avoid paying property taxes. That's what, $300,000 it was? He should be in jail. He and his wife should be in jail for that. They stole from us. They stole from you. And don't forget it, please. Not to mention what he did to our children. 1,116 days we were locked down.
John in Cherville.
Yeah, I just have comments. It was first, he said something about not wanting to submit a bloated budget. And then the second comment is that the buckets to put out the fire really are for his toilets that were removed.
Hi-oh. Thanks for the call, John. Yeah, his $55 billion spending under Pritzker since he's been governor is up 30%. Is Illinois 30% better than where it was in 2019? Right? 20, well, he was elected in 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah. And took office in 2019. Is it 30% more? Uh-huh. And, of course, he said, well, we're not going to raise taxes. That's his, sort of big hold the line thing. But
yay.
The state continues to be this financial house of cards, just like the city of Chicago is. But they're too busy applauding themselves for to pay much mind to that, because their constituents clearly don't pay much mind to that, because you're sending these new Marxist trained SEALs to Springfield to applaud the fat man calling people with whom you disagree Nazis. Boy, it's real inspired stuff. You're statesmen and women, aren't you? Jordan in Antioch.
Good morning. I know what the response should be, and it's not going to come from Illinois, at least not from the delegates from the legislation. But in a way, it's kind of a good thing, and the reason I mean it's a good thing is this guy's auditioning for the presidential run, and when he speaks to these crowds and gets all the harumphs, that just bolsters him. And I know it sounds distorted, but I really want him to run for president. I really want him to be encouraged by the people that, just like him, call us Nazis. Every single person that voted for him agrees with what he's saying. Don't kid yourself. But I want him to be on a public stage.
No, I get it, because you want Humpty Dumpty to fall off the wall and the pieces not be put back together. No, I got it. Thanks for the call, Jordan. I got it. And I agree with you to some extent. But along the way, it would be nice to see people who do have some decency stand up to this goon. And we just don't have that. Later in the show, I'll get you a Republican response, such as it is, and it will explain why there is no particular opposition in the state. But here's one approach that could have been taken.
What?
One approach that could have been taken. Tom Slater is the editor of Spiked Online. We have Brendan O'Neill from Spiked Online all the time. It's a good publication, really a lot of sharp young writers. And he participated in a Cambridge Union debate recently. And the resolution for this debate was, Trump is a 21st century fascist. Argue for or against it. So one person argued for it. The other, Tom Slater, argued against it. This is one way you could respond to the sorts of hysterics that you hear from the worst of our political class, like Jelly Belly.
Benito Mussolini, Adolf Hitler, Donald Trump. Il Duce, der Führer, the Donald. The Romans salute, the Sieg Heil, the YMCA dance. The comparison is so absurd it practically debunks itself. Totalitarian control, messianic dictatorship, a cult of racial superiority, paramilitaries crushing the left at home, a Darwinian militaristic struggle abroad, the worship of war and violence, the mechanized attempt, let's not forget, to murder all of Europeans' Jews. If that sounds like America in 2025 to you, then I suggest you leave here and have a nice long lie down. In a second. Trump, I'm silencing all dissent tonight. Trump, you can absolutely say that Trump is illiberal, that he's want to fly off the handle over words that hurt him or democratic votes that do not go his way. But that does not make him a fascist. If he was in the UK, that would make him a Guardian columnist. Or maybe a member of the Green Party. The point that I'm trying to make is that if you stretch the definition of fascism in this respect, it's not just grim. It's not just wrong-headed. It's not just against the academic literature or the dictionary definition. It amounts to plundering some of the darkest moments of human history, exploiting the unique suffering of those who perished in gas chambers and on battlefields in order to score cheap political points. It also reveals an increasingly out-of-touch bourgeois left that has become so detached, so disdainful even, of working class people, but that whenever they get together and rebel against the establishment, it instantly assumes they've been whipped up into this by some kind of racist, fascistic demagogue, even when many of those voters are black, are Muslim, are Latino, record numbers of whom backed Trump in November last year. That's a strange kind of white supremacy as far as I'm concerned. If we accept this motion, we accept the dilution of fascism and its horrors. We defang that word, we reduce it to a swear word and a smear. We turn the graveyards of the 20th century into a playground in which to have our own political spats. That is an insult to the millions of people who lost their lives to fascism, particularly European Jewry, and I hope you will reject this motion as a consequence. Thank you.
That's one way to do it. That's what I'm talking about when I say stand up and address it directly to J.B. Pritzker and his supporters, that you are without any intellectual integrity. Any. If you subscribe to that characterization. Devoid of any intellectual integrity, or integrity in general, I might add. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Why do so many companies count on Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating? Consistent high level of quality, an ISO certified and A2LA accredited heat treating, electroplating, fastener sorting, and packaging job shop. Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating meets and exceeds client specifications. Whether a high volume or a small production run, their processes ensure a job well done. Celebrating their 15th anniversary this year, they specialize in metal fasteners and stampings for automotive and other industries. And with a newly expanded sorting department, there are many sorting and packaging options to meet your needs. Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating serves customers in Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, and Tennessee, with easy access to all forms of transportation from an automated facility in Riverdale, Illinois, just 15 minutes southwest of Chicago. Want consistent quality? Call Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating, 708-849-2050, or visit riverdalePHT.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll revisit the J.B. Pritzker thing because there's more on that. We'll do that at 8:08. But coming up at 6:36, our friend Dominic Green joins us to talk a little geopolitics, and we'll hear what both Vance and Trump had to say about our European friends at 6:36.
And later, during Open Mic Friday, J.D. Vance says it's okay to be a white male and drink a beer. You got to hear it. But now let's head into the newsroom and say good Friday morning to Nikki Whaley, who's in for Mike Scott.
Good morning. It's 11 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Senator Mitch McConnell will not seek re-election next year.
My current term in the Senate will be my last.
The Republican lawmaker made the announcement in his speech on the Senate floor on his 83rd birthday Thursday. McConnell was first elected to the Senate in 1984. He said every day since then he's been humbled by the trust voters placed in him to do their business in Washington. McConnell broke the record for longest-serving Senate party leader before stepping down in November. Several residents in Chicago's South Shore neighborhood are upset after hearing that a local Walgreens pharmacy is closing. A packed community meeting took place at the Bryn Mawr Community Church. Several people are concerned that the neighborhood will become a pharmacy desert. The Walgreens at 73rd and Jeffrey will close its doors February 27th. News is a service of Fox Valley Coins in Naperville, easy to get to off of I-88 or Route 59 in Naperville. Family-owned integrity since 1981, foxvalleycoins.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
MyPillow is excited to announce that they're having the first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 30% on their brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one Mike has worn every day for 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get the 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. The initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And the best-selling standard MyPillow, just $14.98. To take advantage of the first ever mega sale, go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201. That's 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship has sailed because right now every order ships absolutely free. MyPillow.com, promo code LIBERTY.
I saw a t-shirt recently, and it said, "Too much of anything is bad unless we're talking about bacon." Now, we can debate all day long about the points of bacon. However, portion control is a good thing. That can also be said about your retirement accounts. Too much risk, when you could be burdened down by a down market. Too conservative, and maybe you can't take that Alaskan cruise you've been saving for. Tom Fortuna and the people of Alpha Wealth Group understand portion control. He can balance a retirement plan with levels of protection and risk designed specifically to your needs. And if you don't want risk at all, he can do that as well. Just simply call for a free discovery meeting. You can call him today at 630-864-6711. That's 630-864-6711. You may not find that right balance between a pound of bacon and a pound of kale, but you can find the balance between worrying about your retirement and enjoying your retirement. Find out for yourself by giving Tom Fortino a call at 630-864-6711 or online at alphawealthgroup.com.
This is Albert Mohler for townhall.com. President Trump, flanked by a small army of girls and young women, signed an executive order entitled Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports. The event was political stagecraft at its most brilliant, with young girls filling the screen and watching appreciatively as President Trump signed the document.
I'm going to sign the executive order right now, and everything I said will go into effect immediately, okay? Thank you.
It was a win for female athletes, to be sure, but it was also an act of courage and clarity. The courage is demonstrated in two dimensions. First, in the fact that President Trump signed it. Second, in the fact that he did it right in the face of the moral revolutionaries who dare to argue that all right-minded people should share the delusion that a boy can be a girl and a girl can be a boy. A more traditional Republican would have offered lip service and lit a candle. President Trump's executive orders, thanks be to God, represent a blowtorch directed at the false gender ideologies of the age. All those who love truth ought to be deeply grateful. I'm Albert Mohler.
Hair Volume is the best-selling hair tablet in the world and one of many award-winning natural hair products from New Nordic. Purchase at newnordicusa.com or CVS.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Jill Urchek, taking a look at the roads on the Kennedy outbound side at Irving Park. Heads up for an accident blocking the right lane. Not too bad travel time, though, at 25 minutes from the Janeburn interchange out to O'Hare. Delay-free conditions on the Edens going out. Eisenhower looks good. Stevenson, we're seeing delays on the inbound side at 25 minutes, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. And the inbound Ryan, 14 minutes from 95th Street into into downtown. Express are tightening 35th to the Stevenson. Starting to back up DuSable Lakeshore Drive northbound Bryn Mawr to Hollywood. But the other tollways are moving along nicely and no delays on I-57 or the Bishop Ford. This report is sponsored by Audible. And if you're stuck in traffic, why not tap into your well-being with Audible audiobooks, podcasts, and originals. Spend some time with expert insight on better health, relationships, finance, and more. Start listening free with the 30-day trial at audible.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Cold day today, sunshine, high 27. Clear, bitter cold night tonight with a low at 12. Partly to mostly sunny, breezy, chilly day tomorrow, the high 32. Partly sunny for Sunday, not as cold, the high at 39. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. And J.D. Vance, appearing at CPAC this week, reiterated the point that he made at the Munich Security Conference last week about shared values with respect to our Western European allies. And if the Western European allies in question behave like it has been documented they behave, do we really have shared values anymore? This was the point he was attempting to drive home, and for which he received much pushback, but he's not backing down.
Well, look, obviously, we're going to continue to have important alliances with Europe, but I really do think the strength of those alliances is going to depend on whether we take our societies in the right direction. Think about this. Germany's entire defense is subsidized by the American taxpayer. There are thousands upon thousands of American troops in Germany today. Do you think that the American taxpayer is going to stand for that if you get thrown in jail in Germany for posting a mean tweet? Of course they're not, right? So the point that I try to make to our European friends, and I think that they're our friends, I believe that, I know President Trump does, is that friendship is based on shared values. You do not have shared values if you're jailing people for saying we should close down our border. You don't have shared values if you cancel elections because you don't like the result, and that happened in Romania. You do not have shared values if you're so afraid of your own people that you silence them and shut them up. So let's have shared values. Let's defend democracy. Let's have free expression, not just in the United States, but all over the Western world. That is the path to strong alliances in Europe.
Hear, hear. For more on this, please be joined by Dominic Green, columnist for the Washington Examiner, contributor to the Wall Street Journal, and fellow of the Royal Historical Society. Dominic, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hello, Dan. Hello, Amy.
The Europeans are still smarting from the tongue lashing they received at the hands of J.D. Vance last week?
Oh, yeah. They're really upset. And, of course, nothing hurts more than the truth. They, right. On an extended free ride. I remember it was Barack Obama who complained about free riders in Europe. So this is a long-term issue. This is not something that suddenly appeared overnight. For 30 years, since the end of the Cold War, the Europeans have massively reduced their spending on defense, directed the money towards welfare, and expected the United States to provide an umbrella of security. And at the same time, they have pushed for the expansion of the European Union and the expansion of NATO, again, assuming that the United States would provide the umbrella. And the war in Ukraine has, of course, caused a terrible crisis in these relations. And what Vance said to them, I think, is the most important speech given since Ronald Reagan went to Berlin in 1987 and said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. We're in a different era, and it's very important that everybody involved understands that, because the Europeans are acting as if it's still 1990.
So do you think Vice President Vance issued a call to arms?
Yes, a call to the Europeans, to the European people as well. as well as their leaders. Obviously, their leaders made a big fuss, and they used words like, German defense minister said it was inappropriate, which is the language, of the kindergarten. But the people of Europe, I think, hear this loud and clear. They are being treated with suspicion and contempt by their own governments for, as Vance said at CPAC, often for doing nothing more than expressing perfectly reasonable opinions, which happen to go against the official opinion of Europe's rulers. And for that, they are called, quote, far right, or they are hassled by the police, or they are even imprisoned. And I want to confirm that all of the cases that the Vice President referred to in his speech in Munich, all of these are well documented. They're not some kind of internet fantasy. It is really the case that in Britain, people have been arrested and sentenced for silent prayer within sight of an abortion clinic, for instance. That is absolutely confirmed. And so is that people have been given long prison sentences, often for basically being rude on Twitter, as if that is a national security threat. So the decay of free speech in Europe is a real thing, and I think the Vice President is entirely right. Why should the United States subsidize massively wealthy countries whose governments act as if they do not share the core values of the U.S.?
Well, right. In many of the cases he referred to, German prosecutors confirmed in a 60 Minutes interview, they were happy to confirm the sort of government-sponsored silencing of dissent that's going on in Western European countries. In response to what Vance had to say, you've seen some movement from two-tier Keir Starmer in the UK as well as Macron, talking about increasing their defense budgets and so forth. But it was interesting. I watched an interview from a former NATO general talking about the same issue of Europeans being too comfortable resting on the largesse of Americans, and now we have this problem, even though he was not complimentary of Trump. But they recognize the problem. But he said, and it seems to me, despite some of the rhetorical positioning of Macron and Starmer, that they still don't get it. And they're really not on the precipice of changing their posture towards providing for the common defense in Western Europe or the Western world generally.
No, and the problem is this: they can't do it overnight. I mean, as we see in the U.S. as well, rebuilding the production base so that you can actually run your own military, that takes years on its own. Even in wartime, it's a massive effort. So in peacetime, there's no urgent incentive for a government to say to people, actually, we're either going to put your taxes up or we're going to cut your subsidies and welfare in order to build up the army. And to give you an example of the degree of the rot that has occurred, at the end of the Cold War, Britain spent 7% of its GDP on its military. It is currently, having pushed the figure up, it is currently at 2.3%. And Britain is committed to go to 2.5%, but the Labour government cannot say when it will hit it or how it will fund it. So, they can say they'll do their best to sort of placate Vance, Trump, and hope the problem will go away. But this requires them to restructure their economies and their political priorities. And of course, if that is electoral suicide for a party like Labour in Britain, which is the party of welfare. And meanwhile, of course, because of the Ukraine war, Russia has put its economy on a war footing and is simply outproducing the Europeans. So we now have a gap, as it were. If the United States is withdrawing, the Europeans can say they want to step up, but they're incapable of doing it. And that, of course, does invite further Russia adventurism in Eastern Europe.
I wanted to get your take on, speaking of Eastern Europe, this war of words that has broken out between Trump and Zelensky. It seems like it is a really poor strategic move on Zelensky's part to get into this public back and forth with Trump. I mean, if if Western Europe is not going to backfill America in providing more material support to Ukraine, then Zelensky, if he repels Trump and the U.S., I mean, he could literally be a man without a country in the not-too-distant future.
Well, Zelensky has negotiated in public from the start. He has built a persona and done it in front of the cameras, and it worked very well. He was able to persuade the Biden administration to extend a war that had already reached a stalemate, and extended even for 3 years, which is where we are now. And he is still trying to negotiate in public, this time by rallying the Europeans to his side against the Trump administration. I don't think that's going to work at all. I think that the Trump administration regards Zelensky with extreme skepticism, if I can put it that way. And the reason being, and this is something which for 4 years we were supposed to forget, Ukraine is an extremely corrupt place before the invasion of 2014, before the Russian invasion of 2022. Ukraine is a place where Russian money can come in and go out the back door because Ukraine was connected to the European Union banking system. It really is, even for Eastern Europe, outrageously corrupt. And Zelensky is a figure who has risen through that system. So the Trump administration know him for what he is. The way in which Zelensky was sort of spun into being this heroic figure is quite shocking. It is heroic, certainly, of the Ukrainians to have resisted an invasion, which is a terrible thing, absolutely. But Zelensky himself, no, he's no saint. And the way he's behaving, that will probably speed up his departure from the scene, because the Russians don't want him there. And the U.S. certainly does not, under this administration, does not want someone in Ukraine who is trying to drag the U.S. into a war with Russia, because that has been Zelensky's survival strategy.
The Biden administration made him seem like a hero. They flew out celebrities, Sean Penn, Angelina Jolie, anybody, Ben Stiller, to meet Zelensky to make him look like, hey, we're on your side. We love you. We support you. But yet he lost billions of dollars of the money we gave him. I don't know how you just lose millions and millions of dollars like that.
I can tell you, Amy, within about a year after the Biden administration started sending money, I happened to be in central London. And for the first time, I noticed large numbers, like, several in a day, of top-of-the-line Mercedes limousines with Ukrainian plates in central London. That's where a substantial chunk of the money has gone. It's gone straight out of Ukraine. There are stories also of generals being arrested at the border on their, with suitcases full of euros. If Zelensky says half the money is unaccountable, then, that's billions. And I believe 60-odd billion was sent to U.S. aid to administer. So no doubt Elon Musk will be on the case to find out where the taxpayers' money has gone. Before we let you go, I want to pull forward this story that you did in the Free Press last month. It's an incredible story, and Elon Musk picked up on it. And just the impact that the story is having, if any, in Britain, particularly with respect to the open borders policies that the UK and the rest of Western Europe was pursuing long before America pursued it under Biden. I'm talking about this grooming and serial rape of thousands of English girls by men of mostly Pakistani Muslim background over several decades. Yes, and it's still an ongoing phenomenon. There is every reason to believe that this, and which is, as I described, the worst organized crime in the history of Britain, and certainly in peacetime, probably the history of Europe. There is every reason to believe it's still ongoing. And the Labour government is doing its best not to do anything about it. It has, instead of announcing an open-ended national inquiry, it has announced inquiries in 5 towns. And we know that this happened in at least 50 towns. So we can do the math, and that's 45 places where the local government is completely complicit with it, where the local police have often turned a blind eye, where every level of the system is implicated, and there will be no serious inquiry. So not only will the criminals still be carrying on, but those who have enabled them, who are supposed, after all, to be protecting the weak, to be protecting children, those people are all going to be in their jobs, their state-funded jobs and pensions, and no one will, look too closely about how rotten the system has become. And the reason for that is because this is the Labour Party's voter base, a combination of state employees and recent Muslim immigrants. They're the crucial blocks the Labour Party needs in order to keep power.
Where is Kemi Badenoch and conservatives on this? Are they trying to press the issue?
They are pressing it now. They're in opposition, but they were happy to do the same actually when they were in power. And so for that reason alone, Kemi Badenoch has a real credibility problem. Nobody has forgotten that the problems we have in Britain now are bipartisan. With both parties, they both had long runs in power, and they both basically followed the same policies. We had in Britain what in the US people often call the uni-party, that, they basically agreed on about 80% of their policies, and the other 20% didn't matter too much. On this issue, which is related to immigration, assimilation, Islamism even, on these issues, this was a bipartisan mess which took 30 years to develop, and Badenoch is still very much in the shadow of it, which is why Nigel Farage and Reform are now running ahead of both Conservatives and Labour in the polls, which is an astonishing thing.
Well, I mean, thousands of girls being raped and not getting justice, and for both parties to allow that to go on because they didn't want to, endanger their posture with respect to immigration policy is just unconscionable. So I can understand why if there's a revolt going on, is sort of what you're describing.
There is a popular movement against the entire system, which has been exposed, as I've said, largely because Elon Musk finally shone a spotlight on it. And the same can be said of other things. Once the United States says what is going on, the Europeans actually then have to do something. And when they're left to their own devices, they will manage often to suppress things, as we've seen in Germany, as we've seen in Britain, because these are small societies of people who are used to being told what to do. They have a tradition of free speech, for instance, in Britain, but it's not as protected in law as under the First Amendment. And so people are used to sort of dialing it back and not rocking the boat. So what Musk did was an enormous favor, and what J.D. Vance did in Munich and at CPAC is also, he's doing a great favor to the people of Europe by saying, look, this is what's happening. It's not acceptable to us. Why should it be acceptable to you?
Well, Elon Musk did a great service because you did a great service with that expose. Dominic Green, columnist for the Washington Examiner, contributor to the Wall Street Journal, and fellow of the Royal Historical Society. Dominic, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gave Alice, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Come on with this, people. Move it!
Did you really think you could make that company deliver yourself?
Oh, I cannot handle any more traffic.
You could be getting much more done at your place of business.
I've wasted 45 minutes and now this place is gonna close.
Time is money. Let Quick Delivery Service take on the traffic hassle for you. They'll deliver almost anything, from large pallets of materials to important documents, or both. No forms, no labels, no scanning. Just tell Quick Delivery Service where it's going, they'll pick it up, and get it to your destination quickly. Your cargo delivery is tracked in real time with GPS. Notifications are delivered right to your inbox. Visit QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. Or you can deliver like this.
Seriously, another train?
Or get your delivery there on time with QuickDelivery.com. Or call 847-534-2244. 847-534-2244.
You heard me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
My doctor told me my blood pressure is borderline. I figured I could worry about it or do something about it. So I took control with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula. It works safely and naturally to help maintain healthy blood pressure with a custom blend of garlic, vitamins, and minerals. And it's odor-free. I'm taking charge with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Kash Patel has been confirmed. We'll talk to former FBI agent James Gagliano about that and the direction he expects Kash will take the agency at 7:07.
It is now 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Israel's prime minister vows revenge against Hamas. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Who kidnaps a little boy and a baby and murders them? Monsters, that's who.
Benjamin Netanyahu, the day after Hamas released their bodies, among 4 dead hostages handed over, but the remains of the boy's mother, Shiri Bibas, was not in one of the coffins Hamas handed over, as had been promised. So Netanyahu said in Hebrew,
"We will act resolutely to return Shiri home together with all our hostages, both the living and the dead, and we will ensure that Hamas pays the full price for this cruel and evil violation of the agreement."
As the U.S. pushes to end the war in Ukraine, conflict with our allies who weren't happy when President Trump called Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky a dictator, blaming him for Russia's invasion. Monday marks 3 years.
Western officials say the U.S. is also fighting over the statement with other G7 partners that would mark the anniversary of the invasion, with the U.S. pushing to include some language that reflects losses on the Russian side. Some reports also indicated that there was U.S. opposition to calling Russia the aggressor.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House. After votes all night in the Senate, Republicans approved a $340 billion budget blueprint to boost funding for the military, energy production, and the border. GOP Senator Rand Paul joined Democrats voting no, wanting to spend less.
If we were fiscally conservative, why wouldn't we take the savings from Elon Musk and Doge and move it over here and help with the border?
The House is working on its own budget bill, even bigger. They're celebrating in Canada a win over the U.S. in hockey's 4 nations face-off featuring NHL stars.
It's not an Olympic gold medal or anything like that, but it means the world to our group. As you can see, everybody battled so hard all week.
Connor McDavid on ESPN. He scored the game winner in overtime to beat the Americans 3-2. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who President Trump calls governor, wanting Canada to be our 51st state, posted on X, "You can't take our country, you can't take our game." America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 11 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Elon Musk says America will go bankrupt unless the federal deficit is brought under control.
A country is no different from an individual in that if an individual overspends, an individual can go bankrupt, and so can a country.
Joined by President Trump in an interview with Sean Hannity, the head of Doge said that inflation will not be cut until they first tackle wasteful spending. Trump blamed the previous administration for the federal deficit, saying he inherited it from President Biden. He added that Musk has found only 1% of the wasteful spending so far, and it could end up amounting to $1 trillion. The president vowed that Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare won't be touched when it comes to spending cuts. Outgoing Chicago Public Schools CEO Pedro Martinez is no longer in the running for a superintendent position in Nevada. Clark County School District trustee Lorena Bassetti says that the Chicago public school leader does not fit their profile and does not meet their standards. The Chicago Board of Education terminated Martinez without cause in December. He'll be paid his current salary through June and will receive 20 weeks of severance pay. ChatGPT now has more than 400 million active weekly users. OpenAI CEO Brad Lightcap posted the numbers to X Thursday and noted that's twice the number of users the artificial intelligence program boasted in August of last year. News is a service of the Chicago Wolves. Join the Chicago Wolves for Faith and Fellowship Saturday night at 7 against the Iowa Wild. Stay for the post-game as Wolves forward Josiah Slavin shares stories about his faith. Tickets are available at Ticketmaster.com.
The first weeks of the new Trump administration have been full speed ahead, making America great again.
It's going to only get better.
And on Tuesday, March 4th, President Trump will take a victory lap when he addresses Congress and the nation. And AM 560 is throwing a watch party.
They tell me it's very exciting.
Join us for dinner and President Trump's speech on March 4th in Rolling Meadows. Get your tickets at 560theanswer.com/watch. That's 560theanswer.com/watch. Sponsored in part by Opum Tax Advocates and attorney Stephen Leahy.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
This month and every month, we remember the over 66 million babies whose lives have been senselessly sacrificed on the altar of abortion. Surely, the left doesn't understand the repercussions of a land that takes the blood of the innocent. And that should only motivate us more to save more babies and their moms. Preborn is a network of clinics, and they fight every day to save more babies and more moms. To date, they've rescued over 300,000 babies' lives by introducing a mom to her child on an ultrasound. That baby's chance at life doubles. Preborn showers moms and babies with God's love and assistance for up to 2 years. So when they shout abortion, we shout life. Let's save more babies this year than last. One ultrasound is just $28, and only $140 will help rescue 5 babies. All of the gifts are tax deductible. So donate securely. Dial pound 250. Say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby. Or go to preborn.com/hope. Preborn.com/hope. Sponsored by Preborn.
There is a place in northern Illinois that people have come from all around the globe seeking treasure.
It's amazing. I didn't know what to expect, but when I got there, I was surrounded by all kinds of gold and silver.
An actual place where you're surrounded by treasure?
I've known that gold and silver were a good investment, but I really didn't want to buy it through the mail. At Fox Valley Coins, I basically walked in, picked out what I wanted, paid cash, and walked out with gold and silver.
Walk in with paper and walk out with actual gold and silver bars. For decades, Fox Valley Coins has traded paper dollars for actual gold and silver. They buy and sell. The treasure map is available at foxvalleycoins.com. They are on Route 59, 1 light north of I-88 in Naperville, Illinois. Again, for info and the map, seek foxvalleycoins.com.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Jill Urchak taking a look at the roads. It is busy on the inbound Kennedy at 25 minutes, but outbound crews just cleared a crash. It's on the left shoulder at Irving Park. On the inbound Eden's not bad. The Eisenhower 40 from 390 into the post office. Delays continue northbound 55 between 53 and Joliet Road. Stevenson 35 minutes, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Outbound side of the Stevenson heads up for a crash at First Avenue. The Rhine 25 minutes, 95th on in. We're seeing delays also in the Express Pershing to the Stevenson and slow conditions inbound side of the Bishop Ford 111th into the Dan Ryan. DuSable Lakeshore Drive looks good. No troubles along the Tri-State, Jane Addams, Reagan, or 355. Traffic is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at almostfreeteeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Mostly sunny, chilly day. High today at 27. Clear, very cold tonight with a low at 12. Partly to mostly sunny, breezy tomorrow, the high 32. And then clouds and sun, not as cold on Sunday. High Sunday at 39. I'm Steve Williams, Sunny. I'm 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So Kash Patel confirmed as America's new FBI director. 51-49 was the vote. Murkowski and Collins voting against Patel. Of course. Democrats. It's interesting, 51-49, nearly a party line vote, as compared to the confirmation votes for some recent FBI directors you may have heard of. Christopher Wray confirmed 92-5.
Oh, really?
Jim Comey confirmed 93-1. Bobby Mueller confirmed 98-0.
Oh, zip.
Well, I'll tell you what, that says a lot about maybe where the FBI was and where it is today, and the newfound skepticism, unfortunately, but it's warranted, of the FBI among so many on the right. And the fact that Kash Patel isn't the acceptable institutional man that previous FBI directors were, and perhaps that frightens many other institutional men and women inside the Beltway. It's about damn time, as far as I'm concerned. So what do we want Kash Patel to get busy doing straight away? Well, let's have that conversation with our friend James Gagliano. He's a retired FBI supervisory special agent and a doctoral candidate in Homeland Security at St. John's. He also serves as the mayor of the village of Cornwall-on-Hudson in New York and on the board of directors of the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund. James Gagliano, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Dan and Amy, it's good to be back with you guys. How cold is it in Chicago? Because here in New York, it's pretty cold.
It's cold, but it's going to be warmer this weekend. It's going to be in the 30s, so there you go.
Well, you got that to look forward
to. And I'm sure it feels like a cold day in hell for Adam Schiff in D.C. these days. What is your handle viewpoint on Kash Patel and that very narrow confirmation vote?
Sure, and Dan, to add on to how you opened the segment, let's go back to the other two directors I served under, William Sessions, who was the director, I believe, from 1987 to 1993, and Louis Freeh, who was the director from 1993 to 2001, right before 9/11. Mm-hmm. Both of them were unanimously confirmed by the Senate. You mentioned Mueller and Comey. Also, Christopher Wray, who was confirmed during Trump's first term, was confirmed with a vote of 92-5. We've lost our mind. You mentioned the 51-49. Obviously, Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, they're the reliably swing votes, if you will. When I spoke to you last time, and I think it was a month or so ago, and you'd asked me what my thoughts were on Mr. Patel, I said, look, I'm an agnostic, and I'm going to remain an agnostic until I've done a little bit more research. I did sign on to a letter a couple of weeks ago during his confirmation hearing that a group of retired FBI agents that's called the Reform the Bureau sent to Congress, and Senator Grassley actually read part of that at Mr. Patel's confirmation hearing. Everything that I've done to research him, all the people that I've talked to that have worked directly with him, tell me he's the right guy. And the people that tell me that are people that I've worked closely with and I trust. So I think it's a good day for the FBI. Look, as Cash said a few things that I'm sure he regrets now. And, well, I said this, it was hyperbolic. I said I was going to shut down FBI headquarters on day one, close the 7th floor, which is where all the bosses and the directors sit, turn it into a museum to the deep state. He was being hyperbolic. I don't sense any of that's going to happen now. I think he's going to get to work, and I'm glad that he got confirmed yesterday.
Well, what should be his number one priority when he takes over?
Great question, Amy. Number one priority, returning direct oversight of FBI investigations to the field. No longer allow them to be controlled out of headquarters. Do we need a headquarters? Absolutely. Nobody thinks that, independent FBI officers, there's 56 of them across the United States, should do everything completely independently. But what we learned during that crazy crossfire hurricane period of the Russian collusion hoax was FBI headquarters and those bosses there should not be overseeing cases. And I think Cash has made that patently clear that that's going to be his first order of business.
What about reviewing some of the investigations past and perhaps providing more disclosure on what did or didn't happen, for example, say with the Hunter Biden laptop investigation?
Dan, that's fair. Now, I think he's got a needle to thread here, and I'm not a nuanced guy, as you know. I'm a cudgel guy usually, but when it comes to how we've got to reform the FBI, how we've got to look at some of the mistakes and the politicization that took place during the last 4 years, and beyond that, during Trump's term as well, I think we've got to be careful. I don't think the American people are looking forward to a bloodletting or, hey, we've got to, fire thousands of people. I'm pretty confident that is not going to happen, but I do believe that things will be made public. There will be a lot more transparency, and you mentioned the Hunter Biden laptop. Yes, I think we need to understand why that was kept under wraps. Now, the FBI is not in the business during an investigation of publicly discussing the details. But the fact that those 51 intelligence community folks were allowed to use their letter to smack it down and to help Joe Biden get elected in 2020, I think that needs to be discussed. And I think there needs to be some lessons learned that needs to be put up in that. But look, he's got to look forward. He can't look backwards right now. The American people want him to do that.
Well, although I'm not saying a red wedding, but the idea that if there are still some bad actors in the FBI or people who did bad things, or they may be retired now, like that one agent that was running interference allegedly for Hunter Biden, trying to slow walk that investigation. I mean, if there's disclosures that need to be made now that that investigation is complete, so that the American people have a fuller picture of what happened, warts and all, then I think that would be appropriate, and I think it would be something that would be of interest to the American people, as would some cases that he's inherited that seem to have been slow walked, like Marsha Blackburn, senator from Tennessee, has made a big issue of the Epstein file, the Epstein investigation, the Epstein black book. And, you've got Ghislaine Maxwell serving a 20-year prison sentence at present for essentially human trafficking. And yet we don't have any clients. We don't have any people that were partaking in the human trafficking. So that seems odd, and people want answers to those questions. And Patel has committed to working with Blackburn on that. So cases like that, too, to me, seem important in terms of sort of restoring the credibility of the FBI as getting to the bottom of these things in a timely manner, as timely as possible, and providing information as you can along the way to bring the American people along in the process.
No, great point, and I appreciate your Game of Thrones reference.
Thank you.
Yeah, the Red Wedding. Yes, that was a good one.
He worked all day on that
one. Yeah, that was a good one. I don't sense that coming. There are a lot of folks that are out there hoping for a bloodletting, a red wedding, if you will. That's not what needs to be done here. But yes, and I know Senator Blackburn. I've been on her podcast a couple of times, and she has zeroed in on this. The transparency perspective of this, learning lessons from what happened and fixing that so it never happens again. The men and women, the vast majority of the men and women of the FBI are good and decent and wonderful patriots. And you've never maligned them on your show. I've listened. You know, you understand that this is a top-down organization. The FBI director is a political appointee. There's no doubt about that. But Cash has got to pick a deputy director, somebody who is an active 1811, somebody who's made cases, been in the trenches, and put that person, him or her, in a position to guide the day-to-day operations. And then he's got to do what you're talking about. Go back, figure out where we went off the rails. When I was in the FBI, no credit to me, the FBI enjoyed a 70 to 80% favorability rating with the American public. Guys, it is down below 50%. Now, we can whistle past the graveyard, and we can pretend that, oh, it's just, you know, politicians that are hurting us, and it's the media, and it's this, that, and the other. Or we can take a long, hard look in the mirror, and that's what I trust Mr. Patel is going to do on day one, which is today.
Well, you know, the names for deputy director, somebody that he should be partner up with?
Oh gosh, I could. I mean, there's certainly a long list of people. Now, could you go outside of the bureau, get a retired agent to do that? Possibly. And again, I'm not shilling for anybody. I know a lot of people that are supremely qualified for that position, but it can't be somebody. The problem in the FBI happened. It began under Robert Mueller. I have great respect for him. He was a Vietnam War veteran. You know, awarded the Bronze Medal with V device. He served for 12 years as FBI director. I got great respect for him, but he made the mistake of trying to figure out a way to encourage people to go to Washington, D.C. and become part of the promotional change, and he rewarded young agents who didn't have any expertise in the field. And let's just say the Chicago field office. You know, somebody comes in, gets hired, they work 2 years in Chicago. They don't even know where the bathrooms are in the federal building, where the coffee machine is, and they go to headquarters and they get into this loop. They go back and forth between the Baltimore office, the Washington field office, and headquarters, and basically spend their entire career at headquarters. That has to change. So yes, Amy, there's a long list of people. Trust me, we could be here for hours with me saying this person would be good, that person would be good. But I know people close to Mr. Patel, and they are in it and talking about the ones that should be considered.
Maybe a James Gagliano?
Well, let's not get carried away, okay? I'm in a good position. I got 50 days left in political office. I got to finish my doctorate at St. John's. I'll get back into academia, but yes, I'm certainly not averse to providing some outside help. But trust me, there's people much more qualified, much smarter than me, and I hope he makes that right decision.
Well, that's the encouraging thing is that letter you mentioned that you're a signatory on that Grassley read at the confirmation hearing, with those retired FBI agents that want to see the FBI reformed and return to, you know, sort of past standards and respect in the public eye. I mean, that seems to me like a good group for Kash Patel not only to select from in terms of potential posts within the agency, but also to lean on for advice and counsel, to be a sounding board for some of the structural reforms that he may be considering.
Yeah, and look, you guys are young. The FBI's been around for 117 years. In that 117 years, Mr. Patel is the 9th Senate confirmed FBI director. Yes, we've had acting directors or non-Senate confirmed directors for a period of time, but you got to remember we really kind of gained our motion in going forward under Director Hoover, who served for 48 years, from 1924 until 1972. We recognize that was far too long. That was 48 years. We recognize that we made a lot of mistakes, especially during the civil rights era. COINTELPRO, your folks can listen to it, look that up. But at this juncture right now, where we are, major changes need to be made. And when I say major changes, not with the rank and file FBI agents who are working in the Chicago Metropolitan Field Office right now. It's at the top, and I trust that Mr. Patel. Remember, I was an agnostic. I am a supporter now, and that's why I signed on to the letter, Dan, that you just mentioned. And I trust that he makes the right decisions, because remember, it's not the leader; it's who the leader surrounds themselves with. And I hope that he picks the right people.
James Gagliano, retired FBI supervisory special agent. finishing up his doctoral thesis in Homeland Security at St. John's. He's also the mayor of the village of Cornwall-on-Hudson in New York and on the board of directors of the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund. Jim Gagliano, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Good to talk to you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
All across the country, states are embracing school choice and offering vouchers to families to send students to whichever school they want, including private schools. Unfortunately, lawmakers in Illinois have resisted this trend despite all the benefits of private education. Well, we have a solution if you want to send your child to a private school. It is called ChicagoSchoolVouchers.com. It's simple. Just visit ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com and tell us which private school you want to send your child to. Then we contact the school on your behalf and work to secure a voucher for half off the first year of tuition, typically saving thousands of dollars for families. Now, this program only applies to new students who are not currently enrolled in the school. So if you've been considering sending your child to a private school and thought that it was financially out of reach, go to ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com to learn more and to start the process today. That's ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com.
This is Larry Elder, inviting you to join me on the Alaska cruise this summer, along with Mike Gallagher, Jennifer Horn, and Joe Piscopo. Enjoy Alaska's breathtaking beauty like never before. Text the word TRAVEL to 94878 to reserve your cabin today. This luxury trip is your chance to experience majestic scenery, patriotism, and adventure. We set sail August 16th through the 23rd. Reserve your cabin today. Text TRAVEL to 94878. That's TRAVEL to 94878.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, it started pretty good last night in Boston. And then they booed the Canadian national anthem. Some people did. A little, turnabout is fair play. But then Team USA lost.
I know, 3-2.
It was too bad.
I actually watched. I mean, it was Sweden, Finland, Canada, and the USA. So in the finals was USA and Canada. And Canada wins. Yay, good for them.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Justin Trudeau tweeting, you can't take our country and you can't take our game. Okay. All right. Take it easy, little drama teacher.
Yeah.
Dan Bernstein, the score. Do people? I don't know how people who listen to this show listen to sports radio. I don't know how you listen to sports radio generally, and I'm a big sports fan. But it is so lowbrow. It is so banal. I mean, Dan Bernstein, he's been there for a long time at the score.
I know.
He's awful. He tweeted out, because he's mainly just a political hack who reads the sports scores, too. Gets around to that and discusses less intelligently than we do things like where the Bears will be playing in the not too distant future, Chicago, Arlington Heights. But anyway, I digress. Bernstein posted on X. Why is he posting on X? Isn't he offended by Elon Musk?
He's not supposed to be here. Yeah.
Yeah. He posted three maple leaf flags, 3 Canadian flags, like he's celebrating Canada's victory. What? So you're celebrating Canada's victory over Team USA just because you don't like Trump? What a child he is.
That's what he's doing. Yes. Does not surprise me.
Despite the loss, though, there was a pretty cool moment pre-game when the coach of Team USA got the president, again, Trump, on the phone. Oh, yeah. And he had this message for Team USA before they took the ice.
Well, I'll talk to the guys if they're around.
Yeah, they are. I'm going to walk into the locker room right now, and you can speak to the guys firsthand. Mr. President, can you hear me?
I can. You guys are really talented. I have great respect for hockey players. I'm a hockey fan. I love hockey. The talent, the skill that you have is crazy. And just go out and have a good time tonight. And I just want to wish you a lot of luck. You really are a skilled group of people. It's an honor to talk to you and get out there, and there's no pressure whatsoever.
I can tell you honestly, every person in here, players, staff, management, coaches, we are all proud Americans, and we want to represent our country the best way we can and do our best to bring in a win tonight. Thank you again on behalf of everybody.
You just go out and have a good time. You're going to win, and we love America, and we love you guys. We'll be watching tonight. Bring it home.
Thank you.
That was cool, and it's funny.
Awesome.
Trump sounds like a grandpa talking to his grandkid. Just go out there and have fun, guys.
Yeah, kidding. Do your best. I'm proud of you, no matter what the outcome is of the game.
I'll still love you if you lose.
We'll still have Christmas and have presents.
All right.
Oh, it's adorable. Yeah, and Bernstein also. I'm looking at his Twitter right now, and I'm actually at his X, and. Yeah, he, besides the flags, he posted a meme too with "That's all, folks," and these 2 little characters jumping out of a Canadian maple leaf, and go celebrate.
He's just such a boring bedwetter. I mean, I don't listen to him. He only sort of pops into my universe when people send me his tweets and stuff. But it's just like, what are you listening to? It's like intellectual violence.
Oh, there you go. That's what you call the 5.
Well, it is. There's
also,
lots of forms of intellectual violence.
I got to tell you, my kids, when they played Little League Baseball, we played his team that he was coaching, and he was out of his mind. I mean, I have coached, and I've seen coaches. I've never seen anything like it. I should have videotaped it. Just complete. It was a Little League Baseball game. Relax, dude.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised though. I mean, it's the typical sort of male impersonator leftist who becomes unglued, at the drop of a hat. That sounds right to me.
And yelling at small children. That's always a really good idea to build character. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Updating Governor Jelly Belly's effort to make Illinois the abortion capital of the world. We're going to be joined by Amy Gerke, formerly the head of Illinois Right to Life, now with another organization that looks to hold Planned Parenthood accountable for the condition of the mills it operates. We'll discuss 7:37.
And later, it's okay to be a bro. We'll explain. But now let's head into that newsroom. Nikki Whaley in for Mike Scott.
Good morning. It's 11 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The Trump administration is clearing out all the illegals it sent to Guantanamo Bay. The Homeland Security Department said Thursday that 177 Venezuelans being detained at the naval base were put on 2 passenger planes Thursday morning and sent to an airfield in Honduras, where another plane will take them back to Venezuela. One Venezuelan migrant was sent back to a U.S. facility. It's not clear if the U.S. plans to add additional illegals to Guantanamo. A man suspected of killing a Chicago police officer is asking a Cook County judge to toss out incriminating statements from the case. Joseph Brooks is one of 4 people accused of gunning down Officer Ariana Preston during a robbery in 2023. Lawyers for the defendant filed a motion to suppress statements their client made to police, citing that Miranda rights were violated. All 4 suspects are charged with murder. The case is back in court on March 20th. News is a service of Team Hochberg. They've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you by visiting 56david.com or call 855-563-2843. That's 56david.com. Lower dot equal housing lender NMLS 1124061.
The first weeks of the new Trump administration have been full speed ahead, making America great again.
It's going to only get better.
And on Tuesday, March 4th, President Trump will take a victory lap when he addresses Congress and the nation. And AM 560 is throwing a watch party.
They tell me it's very exciting.
Join us for dinner and President Trump's speech on March 4th in Rolling Meadows. Get your tickets at 560theanswer.com/watch. That's 560theanswer.com/watch. Sponsored in part by Attorney Burton Hochberg.
You heard me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
My doctor told me my blood pressure is borderline. I figured I could worry about it or do something about it. So I took control with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula. It works safely and naturally to help maintain healthy blood pressure with a custom blend of garlic, vitamins, and minerals. And it's odor-free. I'm taking charge with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
Rick Borick, host of Unleash Your Wealth, talks about the importance of tax planning in retirement.
A qualified financial planner can take you through all the steps to show you every single legal way you can use to reduce and minimize your state income taxes across the board, so that, again, you keep more of your money and your family keeps more of your money.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and our new time at 2 p.m. here on AM 560, The Answer.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee, because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com.
Hair Volume is the best-selling hair tablet in the world and one of many award-winning natural hair products from New Nordic. Purchase at newnordicusa.com or CVS.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Jill Urchak taking a look at the road. Still looks good on the inbound Edens. Kennedy, a 30-minute trip in from O'Hare to downtown. Express lane slowing down just a bit, Chicago to Ohio. Eisenhower, 40 minutes from 390 into the post office. Seeing delays northbound 55, 53 to the Veterans Memorial. And the Stevenson, 40 minutes in from 355 to DeSable Lakeshore Drive. On the inbound trip of the Dan Ryan at 25, Express tight 43rd to the Stevenson. Traffic slows northbound on the Tri-State right near the Reagan. We're seeing delays inbound Ford, stop and go Stony Island feeder into the Ryan. Also, slow traffic eastbound Jane Addams Meacham to 53. Westbound 8094, a crash as you approach I-65. This traffic update is a service of Quick Delivery Service. When you need same-day delivery, when you need the fastest service, when you need a last-minute delivery, call Quick Delivery Service 847-534-2244 or go to quickdelivery.com and get a quote right now. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check if your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Cold day today, sunshine, high 27. Clear, bitter cold night tonight with a low at 12. Partly to mostly sunny, breezy, chilly day tomorrow, the high 32. Partly sunny for Sunday, not as cold, the high at 39. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. What can be done, even on the margins, to dissuade people from supporting Governor Jellybelly's push to make Illinois the abortion capital of the Western world, not just the United States? We talked earlier in the week to Peter Breen from the Thomas More Society about litigation against the governor that is pending per the infringement on religious liberties, as the latest example being compelling people to provide health insurance coverage for abortions, even if that is violative of their freedom of conscience, their religious views, private sector. There's some other things, though, that can be done to hold abortionists and abortion providers like Planned Parenthood to some legal standard. And Amy Gerke, who used to be the head of Illinois Right to Life, is with an organization that is taking another angle into this issue. She joins us now to talk about it. Amy is the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships for the Center for Client Safety. Amy, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me on.
So tell us what the organization you're affiliated with now, the Center for Client Safety, does, and how it's applicable even in states that are abortion-addled like Illinois.
So, well, as you mentioned, I was with Illinois Right to Life for a couple of years, and I fully believed, and I still do, that Illinois can be one for life. But I came to the state kind of like Pollyanna, thinking that the same legislative strategies we'd employed in Wisconsin, where I was prior to Illinois, could work here in this state. And it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. After I left Illinois Right to Life, a friend of mine there in Chicago told me about this organization that had been called Reprotection, but had recently changed its name to the Center for Client Safety, that basically uses existing laws to shut down abortion facilities. So this strategy can work in any state, even states like Illinois, because while states like Illinois and California and New York don't regulate abortion, they regulate absolutely everything else. And we get them on the everything else. Everything from zoning violations. We were able to stop 2 Planned Parenthood facilities in New York State because they had inappropriately, improperly applied for business licenses, and they were not in the appropriate zoned area. Also, in pro-life states like Florida, we permanently shut down 2 abortion facilities because the abortion providers and the clinics themselves were guilty of gross negligence. So this strategy has worked from state to state all across the country, both pro-life states like Illinois, California, and New York, and we are just getting started.
Well, what are some of the violations that they're committing?
Well, the things that that are obvious that most people know are happening at abortion facilities, harming women, gross medical negligence, improper sanitization, things like that. And then lots of tax fraud, financial improprieties, as I said, zoning violations. Basically, what we found in our investigations is just about every abortionist across the country, the ones that we've investigated, have some kind of criminal past. And in fact, one of our more egregious cases that we're investigating right now on the West Coast is an abortion provider who was charged with child sexual abuse, who is operating as a pediatric gynecologist performing abortions in a major city and is on the teaching faculty of a major university. So, I've said throughout my 30 years in the pro-life movement, just when I think the abortion industry can't shock me anymore, it always does. And going from the policy side of the abortion, the fight to end abortion, to being on the ground, going directly after these abortion providers and abortion facilities, it's just shocking. It is absolutely stunning how the abortion industry is just able to operate unchecked. And sadly, Illinois is one of the worst examples of that. The Reproductive Health Act that was signed into law back in 2019 basically makes abortion the Wild West here in our state. There's little, if any, oversight of the industry here.
Well, that's where I was going to go. It's, talking about facilities that aren't compliant with, health regulations and those sorts of things. But But in Illinois, you don't have abortion mills treated as the same way any other health-related clinic would be treated in terms of the standards of care and all of the regulations regarding the operation of any institution that provides medical services, not much less does invasive surgery. So in Illinois, what is the angle in Illinois with respect to abortion providers that have unsafe or unsanitary facilities when the state isn't interceding to provide oversight?
Well, the main part of our strategy is we have established really strong partnerships with sidewalk advocates, those brave souls who are outside on the sidewalks praying outside of abortion facilities, helping women, and also pregnancy resource centers. So we have strong partnerships here in the state of Illinois and have received, frankly, shocking allegations of wrongdoing at abortion facilities. We were also contacted by an out-of-state physician who had a patient arrive on his operating table who had been just grievously harmed by an abortion provider here in the state. So basically what we do is we take these reports from our allies, we investigate to see if there is actual wrongdoing going on at these facilities. We put together airtight reports, file complaints with the appropriate local authorities, and then the biggest part of our job is working with these local authorities to make sure they actually do their jobs and hold these negligent abortion providers accountable.
But I mean,
with
respect to that, though, I mean, are you getting essentially medical malpractice cases and maybe even working with women who have been maltreated by abortion providers?
Well, actually, we do not do medical malpractice. We work closely with attorneys when that is the appropriate course of action.
Right.
But women who've had abortions just want to forget their experience. They just want it to go away. So we take the report of what's happened to them, and then they don't have to have anything to do with it. Also, the standard for medical malpractice is really, really high. And basically what we're doing is just making local authorities, health departments, sheriff's departments, et cetera, do their basic job to go in, investigate the facilities, to see if there are laws actually being broken, and to hold the abortion providers accountable. And like I said, when health departments have gotten involved, clinics have actually closed. In addition to closing the clinics, we have caused many abortion providers to actually lose their licenses or their ability to perform abortions, which has in turn led to the closure of abortion facilities.
So what are some of the,
like I said,
give us an example of some of the things that you've uncovered going on in these facilities that were closed or lost their licensure.
So, well, one of the worst stories that we had was in Florida. Sidewalk counselors were outside, and a woman literally jumped off the operating table, came running out of the abortion facility with blood running down her legs, and said, "Please, God, please, somebody call 911. They're going to kill me in there." So we found out that the abortion provider had negligently provided anesthesia and that he had visible hand tremors. He was over 80 years old, still performing abortions, had, serious cognitive decline. And we were able to uncover that and get that clinic closed. Another clinic, the abortionist had sent 3 women to the emergency department. 2 of them, when they arrived, had no detectable pulse. One of the EMTs who responded to one of these cases said it was the most gory, brutal thing he had ever seen in his life, that there were pools of blood on the floor. Like I said, the woman was, for all intents and purposes, dead. It's a miracle that she didn't die, that she survived this. And so when we investigated, we found out that abortionist was not licensed to perform gynecologic surgery. So he lost his license. He didn't lose his license. He was prevented from ever performing obstetric care again, and that facility closed as well. So, almost every day we uncover something else that is just absolutely blows our minds. We got a call just day before yesterday about a woman who I'm just sorry this is so graphic, but the head of her unborn child had ended up in her bladder. And the emergency room doctor said, how does this even happen? It's almost, someone would almost have to do that on purpose. It never ends. Every abortion facility that we investigate is just a horror show. And because Illinois is so unregulated, we know that there are horrible things happening here in our state.
Well, it sounds like a Kermit Gosnell that you have a bunch of them out there. Is there any way to prosecute, especially the 80-year-old who has dementia or maybe, is senile and almost killed that woman?
So our goal is to get them to stop performing abortions and to close their facilities down. We leave it to the local authorities who we work with to prosecute those people. The prosecution for the abortionists that I just mentioned was that they were no longer able to perform abortions. So, unfortunately, one of the biggest obstacles we face is that local authorities just like to turn their heads when it comes to abortion. It's too much of a hot button topic. We're working on a case in a pro-life state where we discovered that the executive director of the state medical board, as well as the assistant attorney general, were purposely sabotaging our case. They were improperly filing subpoenas on purpose, doing everything to protect this abortionist. Luckily, our investigation led to those two officials being removed and replaced with people who respect the rule of law and the right to life of women and their children. So our tactics are having a lot more impact than we ever dreamed when we opened our doors 5 years ago.
Amy Gerke is the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships for the Center for Client Safety. The website centerforclientsafety.com. Is that the website?
Oh, it's centerforclientsafety.org.
.org. Okay, centerforclientsafety.org for more information about the work that Amy's organization does. Amy, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, and she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Jeff Tischlar, author of High Tech versus the Highest Tech, has shared his knowledge of the spectacular things that we see in nature as opposed to what man has created and how this should inform one's faith. Jeff served on the mission field all over the world and has created this highly illustrated and concisely written technical book. The easy-to-read format is understood from the youngest reader to the most intelligent and mature readers. Google and Amazon book reviews include, "This is the best little book I have ever read. It is amazing how much information is in this book." And a beautifully written and illustrated book. The author has a gift for describing complicated technical details in a very understandable style. This book is available now in paperback on Amazon. Search High Tech versus the Highest Tech by Jeff Tischlar. 100% of proceeds go to missions. That's High Tech vs. the Highest Tech by Jeff Tischlar.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
This is Albert Mohler for townhall.com. President Trump, flanked by a small army of girls and young women, signed an executive order entitled Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports. The event was political stagecraft at its most brilliant, with young girls filling the screen and watching appreciatively as President Trump signed the document.
I'm going to sign the executive order right now, and everything I said will go into effect immediately, okay? Thank you.
It was a win for female athletes, to be sure, but it was also an act of courage and clarity. The courage is demonstrated in two dimensions. First, in the fact that President Trump signed it. Second, in the fact that he did it right in the face of the moral revolutionaries who dare to argue that all right-minded people should share the delusion that a boy can be a girl and a girl can be a boy. A more traditional Republican would have offered lip service and lit a candle. President Trump's executive orders, thanks be to God, represent a blowtorch directed at the false gender ideologies of the age. All those who love truth ought to be deeply grateful. I'm Albert Mohler.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer. AM 560, The Answer.
It's time for Animal Stories with Uncle Dan and Little Amy.
Oh boy!
Is there any
just
group
perked up when he heard its animal stories? I'm not kidding you.
Is there any group that is more impossible to parody than animal rights activists? Justice Owens is a vegan animal rights activist in San Diego, and he and a bunch of his friends got together to tell a local bar to stop blowing fish.
Now, Dan, you've blown glass, but have you ever blown fish?
Yeah, and the glass won't stop calling me. This is what's going on. A bar has fish races where you have like little streams, and the two people compete. You have a straw, and you blow the water behind the goldfish to push the goldfish towards the finish line, and whoever does it first wins, I don't know, a pint or something.
It's so fun.
Not to them.
Uh-oh. Oh, they had a protest?
Let's go! Want to be with their families and friends. PB Shore Club, shame on you!
Anyway, I just wanted to get on here and talk a bit about goldfish racing. There's this place near where I live, and they could use a lot of pressure. You know, they're probably not going to take animal products off their menu. They're, a place of torture already. But goldfish racing is horrible. I'm going to show you a bit of what it is in a bit. But yeah, we're just pressuring this place, PB Shore Club, trying to get them to drop it because it's awful. Basically, a bunch of drunk people, super loud, herding fish. I'll show you right now. So this is goldfish racing.
Yeah, and then he demonstrates goldfish racing, which I think I fairly accurately described. But yeah, the signs included stop blowing fish, every animal is someone. You heard the chanting, fish just want to be with their family and friends.
Yeah, what was that? Fish don't know because fish don't have a brain.
Well, they do have a brain.
Well, they have a brain, but they can't. What did Ted Lasso say on Ted Lasso? He said, fish, be a goldfish, because you'll forget about it every 5 seconds. You forget, you have no memory. Kind of like me right now. I'm a goldfish.
Yeah, it's a wonderful recitation of Ted Lasso.
Thank you. I tried.
Did you ever go, I remember when I saw this story, I was reminded of the turtle racing at Big Joe's. Remember?
That's right.
Did you ever go to turtle racing?
I did. And I know in college, people used to have beta fish fights. 2 enter, 1 leaves. Because beta fish, you put them in the same bowl, and again...
It's a fight to the death.
Yeah, it is a fight to the death. And sometimes both of them die. So, yeah, I remember the turtle. Did you ever go to the turtle races?
Yeah, I just said that. I just said I used to go to the turtle races at Big Joe's.
I'm saying, did you bet on the turtles?
Yeah, well, that's what you do.
I don't know. Well, did you win any money?
I mean, it's nominal. It's not really the point. It's just the whole turtle racing thing. I mean, I guess we're supposed to go back to, less offensive bar pastimes like, dwarf tossing or something?
I remember
Instead
that.
of, I hadn't seen the goldfish racing before, though, too. That actually looks kind of fun. And I mean, just like turtle racing, it's like there was no turtles harmed in the race. There's no goldfish harmed here. I mean, their shelf lives are pretty short to begin with. I don't know if anybody's ever had goldfish.
The grossest thing I ever had to cover as a reporter involving animals, octopus bowling. It was during the Red Wings runoff in 1994, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, did I get hate mail on that? I mean, the octopus, they were dead, but they were frozen, and people would bowl them. I mean, it was so gross. It was.
Well, if they're already dead, I mean, then,
right.
And you're not going to use them for calamari or something. But didn't Red Wings fans throw octopi on the ice when somebody had a hat trick?
Yeah, we did that. People would shove big, humongous things in their pants, and I'd always be like, "Hey, you've got an octopus in there, don't you?" He's like, "Shh, don't," because it used to be secretive. You try to sneak in, and then they'd all throw them down. It was they don't do that anymore, but I was there back in the day when they did that, and it was
strange. I've never heard that one before. Is that an octopus in your pants? You're happy to see me? I have never. No, it's an octopus. Okay, all right. Well, anyway, just updating you on what the animal rights activists are up to on this edition of Animal Stories.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, we'll return to Jelly Belly's Nazi comparisons to Trump. 8:08.
It's 8 a.m. WIND Chicago.
It's cruel and malicious. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what Israel's angry prime minister says, wanting to avenge Hamas's botched release of 4 dead hostages.
I vow that I will not rest until the savages who executed our hostages are brought to justice. They do not deserve to walk this earth.
Benjamin Netanyahu calls what happened yesterday evil.
Gaza residents gathered to celebrate and dance as Hamas paraded the coffins of Israeli baby and toddler Ariel and Kfir Bibas. Hamas said they returned the body of the boy's mother, Shiri, as well, but Israeli forensic officials say the remains of the woman do not match any hostage. Hamas officials now say they're looking into what happened.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. Hamas is set to release 6 more hostages who are alive tomorrow. Kash Patel will be sworn in today as FBI director. Democrats don't want that.
When left to his own devices, Kash Patel has proven himself to be a wildly vindictive partisan.
But Senator Sheldon Whitehouse and the Democrats did not have enough votes to block Patel's confirmation. Just before dawn at the Senate.
In this vote, the yeas are 52, the nays are 48.
After a vote-a-rama that lasted all night and included 26 amendment votes, the Senate passing a budget reconciliation bill along party lines that includes $300 billion in border and national security, with spending cuts to offset increases in spending.
Fox's Ryan Schmelz at the Capitol. The GOP is using a process that prevents a Democrat filibuster to block the budget blueprint, but the House would have to approve that same bill. This is Elon Musk, and the Department of Government Efficiency keep working to slash spending. He told the CPAC Conservative Conference it's easy to find waste.
It's like being in a room, and this target, the wall, the roofs, and the floor are all targets. So it's like you can close your eyes and go shoot in any direction. You can't miss.
Democrats have challenged Musk and Doge in court as illegal. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 12 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. A federal judge says President Trump's mass firings of government employees can continue for now. Multiple labor unions recently filed a lawsuit trying to block the administration's layoffs of thousands of probationary employees. On Thursday, the judge denied the bid, saying the federal court was not the appropriate avenue for their lawsuit. Luigi Mangione's next New York court appearance is set for today. Mangione, the 26-year-old accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson on a Manhattan sidewalk late last year, is scheduled to appear in New York's Supreme Criminal Court in Manhattan. Last week, he released his first statement since the December 4th killing, saying he was overwhelmed and grateful for everyone who had written to him, sharing their stories and to express their support. Some folks shake their head and say the man had no skin in the game. There was no reason for him to do this, and it was murder. A Chicago man is free after serving 29 years in prison for a murder he and his supporters claim he didn't commit. Robert Johnson was released last night after a judge vacated his conviction of the 1996 murder of Eddie Binion. Johnson was only 16 years old at the time of the murder. His attorneys with the Exoneration Project say there was no physical or eyewitness evidence to tie Johnson to the crime. They say his juvenile co-defendant received a plea deal in exchange for false testimony. A court hearing is scheduled for March, when the state will decide if they will retry the case. News is a service of the Chicago Wolves. Join the Chicago Wolves for Faith and Fellowship Saturday night at 7 against the Iowa Wild. Stay for the postgame as Wolves forward Josiah Slavin shares stories about his faith. Tickets are available at Ticketmaster.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Facebook's parent Meta just approved a fatter bonus plan for its executives. Business Insider says top leaders could earn an extra 200% of their base pay. The plan comes in the same month Meta plans to reduce its workforce by about 4,000 employees. Meta says the plan is designed to motivate its executive officers to focus on company priorities and reward them for company results and achievements. The enhanced bonus change would not apply to CEO Mark Zuckerberg. Electric vehicle maker Rivian made a profit in the recent quarter, though it expects to lose money for the year. There's a merger in the energy drink business. Celsius will buy Alani Nu for $1.8 billion. Alani Nu's business has been boosted by social media influencers. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Coselda. Invested in you.
Was your Valentine's Day kind of lame this year? Yeah, the same old flowers and chocolates. Well, you've got a chance to redeem yourself and put a smile back on the face of that special someone. You can say, I love you, in the form of $2,000 if you win our Cash for Couples contest. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/love. That's 560theanswer.com/love.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
This Valentine's season, the Ministry of Preborn invites you to become a heartbeat hero and share the love that goes beyond a box of chocolates, a love that saves lives. Every day, thousands of women are told the lie that abortion is their only option. They can't do it, that there is no hope. But that mother in crisis, when she sees her baby on an ultrasound at a preborn network clinic, it doubles her chances at choosing life. This isn't just an image on a screen. It's about a mom hearing the baby's heartbeat, maybe for the first time, and realizing that's a gift growing inside of her. One preborn supporter said, "Knowing my gift could save a life was the most meaningful act of love I could give." For $28, you can provide an ultrasound and help a mom in crisis choose life. $140 provides 5 ultrasounds. So this Valentine's season, take a stand, be bold, become a heartbeat hero. Dial pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby, or visit preborn.com/hope. That's preborn.com/hope.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Jill Urchek taking a look at the roads on the inbound Edens. Not too bad. The outbound side is a 20-minute ride. Kennedy, 45 minutes in from O'Hare to downtown. Outbound Kennedy running at 30 minutes. Eisenhower, 1 hour from 390 into the post office. And then we're seeing delays on the inbound Stevenson, checking in at 50 minutes, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. On the Dan Ryan going in 35 minutes from 95th Street into downtown. Delays in the express lanes from Garfield into the Stevenson. The Skyway is clear. We're seeing some tie-ups on the Ford going in as well, right around Stony Island into the Dan Ryan. Heavy along DuSable Lakeshore Drive either way, and that includes the Tri-State in both directions. The good news is, though, the Jane Addams, the Reagan, and the Veterans Memorial Tollway all moving nicely. 8094 slowing down westbound side Bird to Klein. I-80 looks good. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Mostly sunny, chilly day. High today at 27. Clear, very cold tonight with a low at 12. Partly to mostly sunny, breezy tomorrow, the high 32. And then clouds and sun, not as cold on Sunday. High Sunday at 39. I'm Steve Williams, sunny. I'm 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Got some more texts about fun with animals at bars.
What else you got?
Apparently, turtle racing, Big Joe's, I remember, but Deja Vu in Lincoln Park also did turtle racing.
Okay.
And another friend texted me that Tim's Bar in Dayton had bear wrestling.
Bear wrestling?
Bear wrestling would be interesting. Now, was that bears wrestling each other, or was that a human wrestling a bear?
Right.
Either way, I'll be alerting Justice Owens, that San Diego animal rights activist, about all of this.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that he
And
can
then
assemble his people.
Got another one, Dan and Amy. The fish racing is fun. We've done it outside our lake house for years, and the little kids have a great time. We get minnows from the lake and then race them. Okay.
Stop blowing fish. The immortal words of Justice Owens. Okay. Yeah, there's a Bubbles joke in there somewhere.
Yeah.
All right, we have to get on to serious business. We talked about it a bit earlier in the program, and we're revisiting it because I'm still looking for a Republican response to Governor Jelly Belly's State of the State address, in which he characterized Trump and Trump supporters as bigots and Nazis.
I just have one question. What comes next? After we've discriminated against, deported, or disparaged all the immigrants and the gay and lesbian and transgender people, the developmentally disabled, the women, and the minorities, once we've ostracized our neighbors and betrayed our friends, after that, when the problems we started with are still there staring us in the face, what comes next? All the atrocities of human history lurk in the answer to that question. And if we don't want to repeat history, then for God's sake, in this moment, we better be strong enough to learn from it. If you think I'm overreacting and sounding the alarm too soon, consider this. It took the Nazis 1 month, 3 weeks, 2 days, 8 hours, and 40 minutes to dismantle a constitutional republic. And all I'm saying is that when the 5-alarm fire starts to burn, every good person better be ready to man a post with a bucket of water if you want to stop it from raging out of control.
And his close.
Tyranny requires your fear and your silence and your compliance. Democracy requires your courage. So gather your justice and humanity, Illinois, and do not let the tragic spirit of despair overcome us when our country needs us the most. Thank you.
A speechwriter wrote that. That's appalling. He's just disgusting, and he's such a tryhard. He wants to be there for the Democratic Party, and he wants to be their leader, and he'll say anything provocative, anything to make Trump look bad. Because what is he talking about? How am I, as a woman living in Illinois, being discriminated against? I'm not. Gays and lesbians, how are they being discriminated against? They're not.
The response, what should the response to that be? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Pritzker was pressed after the speech about calling Trump a Nazi, because that's what he was doing. Tyranny. Here's what the Nazis did. Maybe I'm making an allusion to something that's going on currently that I'm calling a constitutional crisis and a threat to the republic and so forth. All the atrocities of history.
How is it not an insult to half the American public who voted for Trump when you're talking about Trump being a Nazi?
Those words never came out of my mouth. That is not true, what you just said. Here is what I will say. I think it was important to talk about the destruction of a constitutional republic.
Right. But I didn't call Trump a Nazi. I see.
Oh, he's such a coward and a liar.
So what should the response be? What should it be? Anything?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on our text line. It is up and running.
I'll give you one example of an approach not to take. And, of course, it's a Republican legislator who took it. Steve Reich, who's completely useless. Complete dope. From McHenry County. McHenry County, the last sort of red county of the collars. And you wonder why it's trending away, too. When there's not, non-aggression pacts with Jack Franks up there, there's putting a dope like Steve Reich in a seat that should be held by a conservative thought leader. There's no thinking going on between Steve Reich's ears. Pathetic. McHenry County, let's have big rallies for Trump. Big MAGA rallies. Oh, what's going on with our representation at the state level? We don't care. I mean, it's not just McHenry County. It's the entirety of the collar counties, which is why they've all been taken over by the left. Reich's response on the House floor.
By implication, and about as direct as he could say it without actually saying it directly, he accused those of us on this side of the aisle of being Nazis. I want to point out a few things. There is no caucus in this House that has been more supportive of Israel through resolution and comments on the floor than the House Republican caucus. We've issued resolutions, we've proposed resolutions supporting the nation of Israel. To put not too fine a point on it, we are part of Team Jew. We support Israel. We don't see any Democrat co-sponsors on those resolutions. And for him to imply that just because there's a sitting president who ran on the same side of the ballot as we did, somehow we're painted with the same autocratic and absolutely fascistic type of attitudes that led to what happened in Europe in 1940s. This is ridiculous.
So his response, Steve Reichs, is, number one, it sounds like he's agreeing with Pritzker about Trump being an autocrat. We're being painted with a broad brush because we're Republicans like Trump is. Don't paint us with a broad brush. That's just Trump. Doesn't that sound like what he said?
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, you're a Nazi. I'm not a Nazi. Some of my best friends are Jewish. Idiot. Idiot. We passed resolutions supporting the state of Israel. Yeah, we should support the state of Israel. What does that have to do with this? How is that responsible? Don't call me a Nazi. I signed on to a resolution in support of the state of Israel. That's not the response.
Mm-mm.
The response is something like, for example, the Israel Heritage Foundation provided. Jerry Wartsky is the president of that foundation. You may remember Jerry Wartsky because he popped up during the presidential campaign. He is a Holocaust survivor. His parents and many family members were murdered by the Nazis. And he didn't appreciate when Kamala Harris was cheapening the Holocaust by calling Trump a Nazi.
I'm 94 years old and survivor of Auschwitz and the death marches. Adolf Hitler invaded Poland when I was 9 years old. He murdered my parents and most of our family. I know more about Hitler than Kamala will ever know in 1,000 lifetimes. For her to accuse President Trump of being like Hitler is the worst thing I've ever heard in my 75 years living in the United States. I know President Trump, and he would never say this, and Kamala Harris knows this. She owes my parents and everybody else who was murdered by Hitler an apology for repeating this lie.
And Jerry Wartsky had this to say about Jelly Belly's comments. What Pritzker says is mentally sick.
Wow.
The fact that he said this, especially as a Jew, is an affront to all Holocaust survivors. It hurts. Jonathan Birkin, the honorary chairman of the Israel Heritage Foundation, said, he served a 5-year term as United States Holocaust Memorial Council member in D.C. He said if the Holocaust Museum does not denounce Pritzker for this outrage, it would contradict one of its own objectives, namely to prevent the normalizing of the Holocaust, which increases the chances of it happening again. Rabbi David Katz. Governor J.B. Pritzker's comparison of the Trump administration to the Nazi regime is deeply disturbing and unacceptable. It diminishes the Holocaust atrocities and harms the memories of the 6 million lives lost. We urge Pritzker to apologize. We also call on the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum to condemn this statement and reaffirm responsible discourse. And the fact that this won't be roundly rebuked in Illinois shows how indecent this state has become under Jelly Belly's lordship. And a lot of the reason is because of the incompetence of the Republican Party, as exemplified by Stephen Reich. Tony McCumbee, why don't you get your act together, since you're ostensibly the leader of the House Republican caucus, the super minority leader, and figure out who has, two coherent sentences they can put together that properly rise to the level of responding to the demagoguery of a J.B. Pritzker.
Tony's too busy letting men get pap smears.
It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Every Democrat socialist applauding with their flippers like the Marxist trained seals they were at Pritzker's words in the State of the State address should be called on the carpet. You agree with that? You agree with that comparison? Let's have it out. But that would require, actually taking a fracking interest in your state as a state legislator or Republican Party official. It's just so unbelievably anemic and pathetic. And you know what it allows the left to do? It allows the left to flip this on you. You nitwit, Stephen Reich. And the rest of the House Republican caucuses, half-ass applauding. We pass resolutions. Who gives a rat's ass? You and your resolutions. It's pathetic virtue signaling like the left does. So then Representative Daniel Didick gets up there, and he flips it on Reich. And now we're not having the conversation we should be having. We're not holding Jelly Belly to account like we should be, because Didick does the whole, to equate support of Israel as absolution for anti-Semitism is in itself anti-Semitism.
I have spent the last year and a half with my life dominated by the rise of anti-Semitism. Among the most pernicious forms of anti-Semitism is conflating the actions of the government of Israel with Jewish Americans. Jewish Americans are diverse. We have a range of opinions about the state of Israel. I count myself as a supporter of a state of Israel. But when you say on the floor, you support Israel and that makes you Team Jew, you are engaging in among the most pernicious forms of anti-Semitism that exists.
Yeah, well, Representative Didick from Buffalo Grove is wrong. It's not anti-Semitic. It's just stupid. What Reich said. It's not anti-Semitic. It's ridiculous. But what the response should have been, if you didn't want to go the direction of the Israel Heritage Foundation, which is a good direction, or the direction of Tim Slater, I played earlier in the show from Cambridge Union, the debate about, which was similar to the Israel Heritage Foundation, about minimizing the Holocaust, minimizing the Nazi regime, minimizing atrocities, crimes against humanity throughout the annals of history. If you don't want to go that route, you could also say, you know what, I'm not going to be lectured to by a party that platforms the most rank anti-Semites in the country in public office. Tlaib and Omar and AOC and Ayanna Pressley. I'm really not going to take finger wagging from you who provide support for the SDS chapters, Students for Free Palestine, SFP chapters, I should say, on college campuses, that Royal College campuses, and engaged in some of the most despicable rhetoric, where college presidents lost their positions because they couldn't provide moral clarity on these issues and allow these encampments, and Jews cannot pass here on the campus of UCLA and other places. Completely obscene and totalitarian in its bent. And you're going to lecture me about Trump or about anti-Semitism? I don't think so. So sit down, Representative Didick. Sit down, Jelly Belly. Let's have at it. No. You call me a Nazi, and the response is this weak tea. I'm not a Nazi. We're not Nazis.
Team Jew.
Moron. Ralph and Rantoul.
Yeah, Dan, where do you start? Except, I think maybe just mocking the Illinois voters. You deserve all the stupid J.B. Pritzker that you're ever going to get. You voted for the fool twice. Maybe some people voted even more than twice. So enjoy your property taxes. Enjoy your anti-constitutional rants. Enjoy the stupid laws that they're going to pass. Watch your state further erode. But as long as you get your cannabis dispensary, your porn, your free money from the government that's not really free, you'll live your stupid, sedated, porn-addicted lives just going on like every other moron. Unfortunately, most of Illinois is red. It's dominated by those dense voting centers where the massive corruption and the elections are rigged. Until people pull their heads out of their butts and start fighting that corruption that keeps fools like this in office, Illinois is going to degrade more and more and more and more. And it's a shame.
Thanks for the call, Ralph. 44% of the electorate voted for Trump. 45, I mean, recent polling is approval rating in Illinois is 45%. Jelly Bellies is just a little bit better than that. It's not like he's wildly popular. But you have to be able to stand up for yourself, for God's sakes. Why do you tolerate this? Why do people tolerate this from their elected officials? I'm not just talking about Jelly Belly, but of course I'm including him. I'm talking about the few Republican knuckleheads still milling about. I'm talking about these suburban Marxists that were cheering this nonsense.
Gross.
In places like Naperville and Hinsdale and Glen Ellen. I go on and on. Same places all the frickin' time. River Forest, where everybody's, a genius and a billionaire and all that. Sending their kids to great schools and nonsense. I mean, just again and again, do you have any self-respect such that you will not tolerate this? How dare people characterize hardworking, decent people in the state this way? Because you disagree? You disagree with me, or you voted for Trump, so you're a Nazi. It's been said before, and it's being said again. But, the rest of the country decided to do something about it. Most of the rest of it. Chicagoland, not so much. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Larry Elder, inviting you to join me on the Alaska cruise this summer, along with Mike Gallagher, Jennifer Horn, and Joe Piscopo. Enjoy Alaska's breathtaking beauty like never before. Text the word travel to 94878 to reserve your cabin today. This luxury trip is your chance to experience majestic scenery, patriotism, and adventure. We set sail August 16th through the 23rd. Reserve your cabin today. Text travel to 94878. That's travel to 94878.
AM 560. The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call it now! Open mic Friday!
It's that time of the week, Open Mic Friday, taking your calls, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line with comments, concerns, compliments, criticisms, general crack pottery. We'll take it all. And we start, as we do, with turnkey.pro founder David Kolsak. David?
Great to hear you fired up this morning, Dan. I love it. Love it. So I have to say that I feel betrayed, like betrayed by the government. That's the only way that I can describe or one can feel as these horrible revelations are coming out about the government. I feel like I'm at a restaurant full of very demanding North Shore customers where the waiter comes up to the table and asks the question, is anything okay? All right. So sadly, the more that's exposed, the more we're going to be seeing the fraud, abuse, and incompetence, and we're continually funding it with our own tax dollars. And the people are getting really angry, and you can see it everywhere, online rants, normal conversations, and seeing those who are clearly benefiting from all the fraud and waste, defending the lack of transparency makes it worse. They're snubbing our noses in it. And this has been going on for decades, if not a century. What makes me and others really mad is that millions of soldiers died defending and protecting this nation. How many of the wars and conflicts were fomented by the actions of the government? How many people died in vain based on the lies of a corrupt government? Is it every conflict or just a few of them? Even if it just was one war that was started for the benefit of the elite ruling class, it's one too many. It's not the people of this country that I feel betrayed by. It's the government itself. The people are starting to get it. Like so many people, I get up in the morning, I go to work, I support my family, I pay my taxes. I'm a good little foot soldier. I follow the rules. I work hard for an honest day's wage. My father used to say that when we work until May for the government, and then we get to keep the rest for ourselves. It feels lately like we work till October for the government, and then we get to keep the rest for ourselves, only to pay sales tax, communication tax, real estate tax, travel tax, and so many other taxes with already taxed dollars. So you have to wonder what the real marginal tax rate is. And we just keep paying because what's the alternative? Don't pay and go to jail. The strange thing is that we're all coming to the realization that we're slaves in an open-air prison. And again, what's worse is that the warden and the guards are only laughing at us openly, and people are noticing. It's only going to get worse and worse until there's some relief. Now, there's been some interesting comments coming out from the administration starting to hint about some relief. You've got Elon Musk carrying the idea that there should be some dividend to the taxpayers as Doge finds and eliminates fraud and waste. You've also got Howard Lutnick, the new Commerce Secretary, in an interview with Jesse Waters, saying that the goal is to eliminate the IRS. Now, that's a good start if they were able to accomplish that, and it would send the economy booming. However, I don't think it goes far enough to steal from your tax base for decades only to say, okay, from now on, there's no more income tax. What about the generations before us that paid into this corrupt system and never knew and never got a dime back? I think there's a real case for the American people to demand their money back, all of it. I know it's fantasy land, totally. But think for a minute if it were possible. If everybody got back what they paid in, including the scam of Social Security, we'd have that nest egg that the government denied us as slaves, being slaves. We just haven't had that opportunity. And it wouldn't be like winning the lottery where people would just go crazy spending the reimbursement. People would guard that money as they earned it and it had been stolen from them. Anyway, it's something to daydream about, but certainly not feasible unless something miraculous happens. So I want to switch gears just for a second and talk about gold. I know that's kind of weird, but what's happening with it, while we're all looking at all this stuff going on, did you know that there's a reshuffling of physical gold all over the place? Australia is questioning where their gold is. There's a shortage of gold in the UK, and firms like JP Morgan are flying their gold bars back from London to America in the last weeks. You can look it up on COMEX. Physical gold is making its way back to the U.S. Now, that could be just a relocation of physical gold to ensure that we have it here within our borders. Perhaps it's a way to evade some future tariff that may be coming on gold. It could be to restock Fort Knox. Who knows? But it's clear that someone with very deep pockets, hopefully our Treasury, is buying tons of gold and bringing it here to the U.S. And this is causing shortages and delays when you purchase gold to actually receive it. The interesting thing is this massive movement of gold is unusual, and people are generally not talking about it, at least until the point where there's a real chance we have a physical gold audit at Fort Knox since 1974, as Musk and Trump suggest. So will there be gold in there? And here's the crazy thing, and it may come as a shock to people, that the book value of the U.S. government has on an ounce of gold is only $45. And in case you haven't heard, gold is approaching $3,000 per ounce. So if the gold, and this is just a theory here, if the gold is revalued at today's market value, at very minimum, it brings our balance sheet more in line to support our massive deficit. However, I think there are big things afoot around gold, and we should keep an eye on it. It's not just a coincidence that BRICS nations are seemingly all meeting with Trump. You've got Trump talking to Putin and Xi. He hosted Modi in D.C., and Marco Rubio's in Saudi Arabia hosting meetings in the petrodollar capital of the world. Could there be a move from petrodollar to gold-backed dollar? Who knows? Regardless, something's happening here, and they keep referring to this golden age. So keep your eye on gold. It's something to look at.
Okay, thanks, David. Scott Bessent, this whole Fort Knox thing, Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, I mean, if you believe him, said, yeah, the gold's there. But, whatever. George in Naperville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, Dan, I'm calling about Trudeau saying we can't take his country or his game. I hope Trudeau will remember Southern man don't need his hockey anyhow.
Okay, George. Yes. Wonderful Leonard Skinnerd. Dawn in Naperville.
Hi, good morning. I just wanted to call and say...
The Munchkin line. Hold on, Dawn. You're on the Munchkin line. What? All right, so, Dawn, call back so you're not on the Munchkin line. Thank you. She'll call back.
I know.
Off the Munchkin line.
Real quick, we did get information about that bear, bear wrestling. It was a restaurant a tavern in Hickory Hills, and it was a 970-pound North American black bear named Caesar. And people would pay $10 to wrestle the Caesar, and if they pinned Caesar, they'd get a $1,000 prize.
Well, that may have been in Hickory Hills, but the one I referenced was a college bar in Dayton called Tim's.
Yeah,
so I'm sure
Caesar
bear wrestling
traveled.
happened in more than one place. Yes.
Yeah, he would go throughout the country, and it was like a way to attract customers to your place.
Sure, because I like this. On a Saturday night, I want to go out and wrestle a bear for $10. I guess the possibility of winning $1,000 if you can pin him.
Yeah.
How many people were killed by Caesar?
I don't see any reports. I've been looking online. I don't see anything. But animal rights activists were, picketed the taverns and they put an end to it.
And they said, stop blowing Caesar. Rich in Indian Head Park.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy.
Hi.
I just wanted to comment why Dan is single. The way I look at things is because Dan wants to be single. It's his choice.
Oh, very.
My body, my choice, Rich.
Right. He doesn't want to be responsible for anyone else's happiness. He doesn't want to be responsible for. He doesn't.
No true words were ever spoke.
He doesn't want to be responsible for other people's actions other than his own, and he wants to be able to do what he wants to do when he wants to do it.
Wow.
If somebody calls him up on a Friday night and says, "Dan, do you want to go golfing?" He doesn't have to check with his wife or say, "I got to take the kids to soccer," or whatever the case may be. So I have a lot of respect for that because I had a friend just like Dan who was never married. He was always single, and he seemed to have a good life because all he had to worry about was himself. Thanks, Dan and Amy, and you guys have a good weekend.
Thank you for the testimonial, Rich. I appreciate that. Yeah.
He should be your agent.
Yeah, it's nice to get a little self-affirmation once in a while.
Speaking of bros, it is okay to be a bro, Dan. J.D. Vance at a CPAC yesterday in D.C. let everybody know.
My message to young men is don't allow this broken culture to send you a message that you're a bad person because you're a man, because you like to tell a joke, because you like to have a beer with your friends, or because you're competitive.
Like to wrestle bears.
Yeah, blow fish.
It's okay to be a bro.
Our message, the cultural message, and I think the president's and mine is the exact opposite, but our cultural message is, I think that it wants to turn everybody, whether male or female, into androgynous idiots who think the same, talk the same, and act the same. We actually think God made male and female for a purpose. And we want you guys to thrive as young men and as young women, and we're going to help with our public policy to make it possible to do that.
Thank you, J.D. Vance.
All right. Eduardo, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, good morning, Dan and Amy. The blue states should not be getting any of that tax rebate, especially in California with that high-speed rail where they got $15.7 billion cost overrun. So, sorry if you live in Illinois, Chicago, L.A., or New York.
Well, thanks for the call, Eduardo. I mean, that's a little bit different. It's individuals. It's not the government. You got to distinguish between individual taxpayers and the government, but I guess you can punish the residents for their state and local political leadership. By the way, speaking of pulling federal funding, Trump is on the ball. And it's not just Pam Bondi suing states that are sanctuary jurisdictions. It's also, he's taking notice. If you're going to violate his executive orders on things like boys playing girls' sports, as the state of Maine is doing, well.
And I heard men are still playing in Maine. Is anybody here from Maine? Who is that? Is that the governor? Well, I hate to tell you this, but we're not going to give them any federal money. They are still saying we want men to play in women's sports, and I cannot believe that they're doing that. They are, let's find out who that guy is that raised his hand. Maybe he's just kidding. But, so we're not going to give him any federal funding, none whatsoever, until they clean that up.
That wasn't a guy, that was Susan Collins.
But you know what? That dude that pretended to be a woman to win the state championship, last year he pole vaulted as a male because he's a man, and he came in 7th place.
Yeah, well, he improved his finish by switching
darn right
over.
He did.
Yeah,
taking the spot away from a real girl.
Matt, Oak Lawn.
Hey, good morning. Happy Friday. Rich from Indian Head Park. I'm married and I golf every weekend. It's very simply, I just whisper to my wife. You say, "Honey, intercourse or the golf course?" Just hit them straight.
Oh, wow, that's
good. That's good. Well, there you go. There's a tip for you married guys out there. Yeah.
Hit it straight?
No.
I couldn't hear his punchline.
He said he whispers in his wife's ear, intercourse of the golf course, and she says, hit him straight. There you go. I got a couple of things I got to get to here. Like,
what?
This is close. This is a close call. We heard from Jasmine Crockett, Fake Eyelashes Spice, earlier in the show about the Doge dividend and how there should be no Doge dividend because we're on the cusp of an Ebola pandemic and maybe some other pandemics that she hasn't named yet. So that was We're All Dumber for Listening It, Dumbest Statement of the Week nominee. The other comes from L.A. Mayor Karen Bass, who wants a full investigation into why she was in Ghana when the fires broke out in California.
So when I talked about it with the fire chief, what she said is that we have warnings of Santa Ana winds a lot, but predicting this, and you saw, from the city, from the county, that level of preparation really didn't happen. So it didn't reach that level to me to say something terrible could happen and maybe you shouldn't have gone on a trip.
Why didn't it
But to
happen?
me, I don't know. I mean, I think that that's one of the things we need to look at. So 2 investigations are taking place. One internal to the city, and that's the Fire Commission, because that's mandated by the city charter. So the commission will hire an outside entity to examine everything, the pre-deployment, why were firefighters sent home, all of that should have taken place that didn't. And then also the governor has contracted with the Fire Safety Research Institute, which is a national institute that investigated what happened in the fires in Maui. So everything that happened, including that, needs to be examined. But I will tell you that I felt absolutely terrible not being here for my city and not being here for my family, who was impacted by the fires as well. And so when I say it was a mistake, absolutely, the idea that I was not present was very painful.
And she is going to get to the bottom of who was responsible for that mistake of her going to Ghana.
Who put her on that plane, Dan? That's what she wants to know.
It's interesting because, boy, that's a very specific, extensive response. If she was so hurt immediately upon returning, she had an opportunity to address the fact that she wasn't present when the wildfires broke out. You remember Sky News caught up with her at LAX, and this is how that went.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster?
And that went on for about 2 minutes where she's cornered and she's just sort of staring out a window until she gets whisked away. So there's an opportunity for her to address that in real time if she was so distraught over not having been there. But it took, 6 weeks, and now she's ready to talk about how hurt she was for not being there. And heads are going to roll. There's no reason she should have been in Ghana by her own choice. Somebody's to blame, but it's not her.
But that Sky News interview where she just stared aimlessly into space, that is not a leader. That's not even a coward. I mean, she has no business being the mayor of Los Angeles. And I hope she finds that out in her own investigation.
Yeah, I can't wait to find out who's responsible for her decision to go to Ghana.
I want to read the report.
All right.
Oh, no.
Prime Minister, Ogden Dunes, Indiana.
Be nice.
You 2 ex-xenophobes, I took a trip to Munich to hear J.D. Vance and see how they make the sausage. And the German sausage, it's the worst. So I thought I'd hear your normal conference speech, but Vance came to Hitler's Germany and he caused a furor. He's blasting the European leaders. Now, I have a German friend here with me. His father was a window dresser from behind the Iron Curtain, and this crowd wants to speak to you, Dan. Can you talk to him?
Yeah, sure. Put him on.
Want to talk to me? Fine. Yeah.
Prof, we have Vance. Please tell your President Trump or Governor J.B. Lizzo that they cannot just follow J.D. Vance and come to Deutschland and tweet Hitler illusions and free speech. In Deutschland, you cannot tweet free speech. You cannot tweet inexpensive speech. And you certainly cannot come and make with the hate speech. We have ways to make you talk. You will talk our way, and you will love every minute of it.
Okay.
Now that's Pam Bondi. Now there's an area we can give me the lip service. More fun than shooting fish in a barrel of monkeys. Pam, come try my lederhosen.
Okay, PM. His German accent not very different from his Irish brogue.
No, I think they're first cousins.
Sort of a bad, sort of top secret German impersonation there, but okay. All
It's
right.
over now, right?
Cleansing breath. Owen in Willowbrook.
Again, and Amy, hey, I agree with President Trump. He should cut off funds, somehow cut off funds to Maine, because I think that transgender athlete that won in the women's contest had a poll that was much longer than everybody else.
With respect to this problem persisting of men playing women's sports, there was sort of an interesting, wild exchange, actually. Riley Gaines and a trans activist who goes by the name Blossom, and a very special Blossom, but it wasn't Maya Bialik, it's a dude who goes by the name Blossom. They were on together debating this issue yet again on Piers Morgan's show. And listen to what Riley Gaines got Blossom to concede.
Absurd from top to bottom, saying there should be a gender-neutral Olympics.
I know.
Are you serious?
Madness.
Do you also believe, Blossom, that we should combine the Paralympics and the Olympics? I would love to hear an answer to that.
Okay, I'll ask her. Bring back Blossom. Blossom, should we combine the Paralympics with the regular Olympics? Have them all compete with each other?
I mean, why not? And to go back to Riley's point to
why
that
not?
last
Yeah,
point.
okay. You are completely insane.
Go back to that last point.
Riley Gaines completely lost it, but and you heard Piers Morgan, you were completely insane. Yeah, have Paralympians and Olympians compete. Just one big Olympics. Everybody all in. Right. Sure, that makes sense. But this is what you're dealing with the identitarian left. There's no grounding there. There's no logical thread. And this is what you get when you live your life by sentiment alone. Mike and Hammond.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Dan. Yeah, when Jasmine Crockett spoke, she said they're not in the business of handing out money. But in reality, that's all Congress does. The omnibus bills, resolutions, that's all they do is hand out money to everybody.
Yep.
I mean, nobody brought that up.
Yeah, right. We don't just hand out. Well, we make investments and we support public servants. Yeah, we don't just hand out money. We don't just hand out money to ordinary taxpayers. They have to be people that are important, where we get some residual political benefit from, you see, not just giving money back to the people we took it from. What sense is there in that? Of course. Yeah, right.
And just so you know, too, Jasmine Crockett, since we're talking about her, she really misses Biden.
Soon you will understand why it's important to maybe have somebody that isn't loud and ridiculous, and maybe Sleepy Joe is what we wanted because we could at least sleep at night.
Yeah. Jasmine Crockett decrying people who are loud and ridiculous. No irony in that.
No.
Dawn in Naperville.
I'm not on the Chipmunk line, am I?
No, you're on the regular one.
You're back.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, thank you for taking my call. I wanted to thank AM 560 for hosting the Caring Network. And if individuals aren't familiar with this organization, they are, how the Word of God says, love always protects when it describes love. And the Caring Network is honestly an organization that really does love and protect the mom, which equates to loving and protecting children. So if you can please go to caringnetwork.com and give. Your contribution will give life-saving services for women ultrasounds, pregnancy consultations, and any other critical support they need. So just a thank you again to your organization for hosting them. And if I can just say one other thing, I heard Governor Pritzker mention disabilities and protecting individuals with disabilities.
Yep.
One thing I find is that they speak in generalities and they miss specific data out of their language. And what I would respond to him is by saying the state of Illinois lacks in funding. As a matter of fact, we rank almost last for children and adults with disabilities. And I would also ask him what he's doing to screen dyslexia and suspected dyslexia or address dyslexia within our school system. Perhaps if they gave some proactive measures, you wouldn't have the proficiency rates that we have in this state. So it's really it's just so disparaging and dishonest. I just wish, whether you're Republican or Democrat, can we get some politicians that actually look at human flourishing for protecting children? And I mean, it's just ridiculous. I don't even know what to say. It's just really upsetting.
Thanks for the call, Dawn. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier in the program about that Illinois has long been and continues to be one of the worst in provision of services for ID and DD individuals. And in addition to that, I'll just add on to what Dawn was saying. I mean, there's still, I believe, north of 20,000 people on the PUNS list, people in urgent need of services. All of the money that's been taxed and spent, and yet you have 20,000 families who have a family member with a disability that don't get the services that the politicians promise to provide. So, lecture me again about how compassionate and caring and focused on marginalized communities or those most in need of state services through no fault of their own, and then you scratch below the surface and see what's actually happening or not happening, and there you go. Tim in Woodstock.
Hi, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. One thing I wanted to say about Pritzker's little speech there is that he gave us the months, the days, and the hours and the minutes, but he left out the seconds. And I don't know how he could have missed. I don't know how he could have missed that little piece of detail there.
The seconds it took the Nazis to end the Republic. Yes, right.
Yeah, he missed that, and it was important because he was trying to give the aura that he was really well read on this and research, and it was just so silly. But I guess I wanted to ask too, whatever happened to toning down the rhetoric? For a man who's had two attempts, the president's had two attempts on his life, and if Hitler was opposed in Germany to the point that people decided to join the assassination plot against him, Dietrich Bonhoeffer. And if you really have a Hitler or Nazis on your hands, they need to be opposed. And that's what's so reckless about what he's doing. Is who knows what kind of a fringe person out there would hear it and decide he's going to be the hero.
That's true.
Thanks for the call, Tim. Well, not to mention the vilification of 44% of your electorate, more than half of the population in terms of Trump voters, which the left does routinely. Yeah, and then they turn around and call for, we're bringing back the civility to our political discourse and so on and so forth. Of course, it's the same game that they repeat because some politicians like Pritzker haven't been punished for playing it. Maybe that'll change, and this is why attention should be drawn to it, and it shouldn't just be treated as something you slough off or laugh at as, it's just politicians being politicians. No, not exactly. Not exactly. And if you really want to, improve the civility of our discourse, which people say they do, I'm not really sure many actually do, but a lot of people say they do, then people should be challenged to address that.
Yep.
And it's not just the civility, but the intellectual quality of it. You really want to be associated with the intellectual vacuousness of statements like that, the unbelievable dishonesty of what Pritzker had to say. That's how you want to go down. That's where you're aligned. That's the example you're providing for your kids and so forth. You're a serious person. You're civic-minded. You're engaged. Well, I mean, if you're thrown with this, you're none of those things. Sorry. Glenn in Orlando.
Yeah, good morning, Dan and Amy. Happy Friday. I can't wait to see the Epstein list and the flight log. And once they're released, I'm wondering if some politicians like Dick Durbin are going to change their appearance.
Yeah, well, I don't know why Durbin was resistant to
the list being released.
Yeah, I don't know, but I doubt it's probably not him, but maybe
one of his buddies.
Yeah, well, there you go. We'll see. Hopefully,
maybe it's him. I mean, who knows?
I don't know. Maybe. Well, we'll see. We'll see what Cash and Marsha Blackburn bring forward. Tom in Barrington.
Hey, guys, good morning. Miss you. Look forward to seeing you in March, I pray. And that news about Stacey Abrams' nonprofit getting $2 billion out of the green energy thing really, I mean, that kind of rocked me. So I did a little deep dive into what it is and why it's so much money. Well, apparently the plan is to get Pritzker, Lizzo, and Abrams up in geosynchronous orbit to block the sun. So that's why it's so much. Anyway, talk to you soon. Love you guys.
That'll cool the planet off. Thanks for the call, Tom. Yeah.
She's the ultimate election denier.
Wow.
And pissing away all of our tax dollars.
Yeah, and, Elon Musk said something, too, at CPAC yesterday about, I won't play it, but just generally speaking, something to think about. It pertains to Illinois, too, though he wasn't talking about Illinois. He's like, I don't know how big the left really is. Once you start combing through all of the spend here, and the Stacey Abrams thing is a good example, a lot of it is just federally funded astroturfing. It's these phony organizations funding sort of the same ruling class adjacent people. I don't really know how big it actually is in terms of real support across the country. It's a small cadre of people that are tax eaters that are feeding off the system. But, it's not the great masses, and that provides a lot of opportunity for the pragmatic Republicans. Chuck and Delavan.
Chuck.
Hey, shout out to Phil and Reggie. Thank you for mentioning my band, Election Denier. I'm going to be at Pier 290 tonight dancing. Instead of getting on a dating website, because I don't have a girlfriend no more, one of my Mexican workers suggested we go to strip clubs and pick out the prettiest strippers and then ask them for their grandmother's phone number.
Hey, now there you go, Chuck. That's an awesome thing to do.
So I've been touring all over Wisconsin. I stayed out of Illinois, but I've been touring all over Wisconsin, and I'm hitting it pretty hard. So you guys all have a great weekend. See you at Pier 290 tonight.
Godspeed, Chuck. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. Couldn't do it without him. Have a wonderful weekend and enjoy the warm weather. It might be 40 on Sunday. It's now 9 a.m. WIND, Chicago.
The FBI gets a new director today. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Kash Patel will be sworn in by Attorney General Pam Bondi the day after a Senate confirmation the Democrats didn't have the votes to block. They call Patel a vindictive loyalist. Senator Adam Schiff says
Kash Patel is Donald Trump's hand-picked enabler and henchman. The guy who would say yes when everyone else would say no.
But Republicans outvoted them, and Fox's Brooke Singman reports.
Kash will meet with his new staff inside the J. Edgar Hoover building today after already laying out his mission as director. He's vowing to let good cops be cops and rebuild trust in the Bureau, telling me, quote, that the American people deserve an FBI that is transparent, accountable, and committed to justice. The politicization of our justice system has eroded public trust, but that ends today.
Just before 5 o'clock this morning, the Senate wrapped up an all-night vote-a-thon.